בחרמון נמס השלג בחצי הלילה, בחרמון זורם לו פלג בחצי הליל. אבא שם על הר השלג בחצי הלילה, שר שירים על נס בפלא עם כל ישראל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. בבקעת תמר פורח בחצי הלילה, הירח שם זורח בחצי הליל. שם אחי ודאי שומע בחצי הלילה את שירנו השמח כאן בישראל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. במדבר הולך החושך בחצי הלילה, שקט הס בארץ גושן בחצי הליל. לדודי עיני נחושת בחצי הלילה, וגם הוא חוגג כמו שכל בית ישראל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. ואני יושב בבית בחצי הלילה, עם נרות וגביע יין בחצי הליל, וכוכב מאיר עיניים בחצי הלילה, לי מוסר ברכת שמיים ולכל ישראל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. האביב שוב צוהל ואיתי משתולל, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה לילה, איזה ליל. שוב צוהל.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння, різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар.
Future's untold.
Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 996 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again, as today we have very big news that there's a Russian uprising in Georgia, and the riots are escalating beyond Russia's control. And also, we got the bombshell piece of news that today Israel did confirm they destroyed Iranian nuclear facility back on October the 25th. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of news from around the world, as we've been able to get major news from the Middle East that the Israelis, in their last attack against the Islamic Republic of Iran, actually hit and destroyed a classified, top-secret Iranian nuclear research facility just southeast of the city of Tehran. We were able to get confirmation of this today from multiple sources, including the United States Department of Defense, the United States Department of State, as well as Israeli defense officials that were all able to confirm that that was, in fact, a target of last attack, and it was hit successfully, knocking out or greatly setting back Iran's nuclear weapons programs and abilities, most likely by months or maybe even years at this point. A major success not only for the state of Israel, but also this amazing republic, the United States of America, as the Western world is able to claim a major victory with the news that was stated today. Absolutely incredible stuff. While this is going on, the Israelis are continuing their ground offensive inside of Southern Lebanon and are currently fighting for the control of the heights around Kana, which overlooks the coastal plains near to the city of Tyre and all the way up towards the area of Adlun and all the way south to the Israeli border. The Israelis have published some video and picture evidence showing the firefights going on in this area, and they are very intense, as Hezbollah forces do realize if the Israelis do control the heights over the city of Tyre, a major Hezbollah command post and also headquarters will most likely be directly under Israeli fire and surveillance, making ground operations and defensive efforts to try and control areas south of the Litani River far more difficult and challenging for the Hezbollah forces as time goes by, and once again securing the Israelis another major strategic victory in their fight against the Iranian proxy forces. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, outside of the Middle East, we are also beginning to hear that up inside of Ukraine, things are going fairly decently with all things considered. And even more so, what's more important is that things are actually going incredibly interestingly inside of a Russian-controlled area of Georgia called West Abkhazia, as we were able to hear that today, Georgian citizens living under Russian occupation inside of West Abkhazia, inside of the state of Georgia, have revolted against the Russian provisional government that has been set forth in this area since 2009, and are storming the Capitol building of West Abkhazia, knocking out windows, attacking police officers. Tear gas has been deployed. Many people say that it appears to be the downfall of a Russian-controlled government within the area, as it appears that the riot police and the Russian occupational forces are no longer able to control the mob, and it appears that the mob is completely out of control even at the moment that we are covering this news, possibly showing that the Russian Federation will be losing the grip that they have been able to have on different areas of Georgia, including South Ossetia and West Abkhazia, since the end of the war in Georgia around 2008 and 2009. Meanwhile,
the crazy thing is those riots in Georgia, they were starting this morning, like we saw the footage coming out, and they've actually gotten worse ever since we reported on them this morning on the video. They keep getting more and more out of hand, and the Russians really don't have a presence there and enough force to actually put a stop to it. So that could be escalating even worse in the coming hours.
It really does look like it will be escalating to be far worse. It actually does appear that as this uprising is ongoing inside of West Georgia, it is actually beginning to snowball and gain a great deal of momentum with the citizens of West Abkhazia, or really the citizens of Georgia that are living inside of a fake Russian puppet state within the area of Western Georgia. And it does look as though that this West Abkhazian region will be looking at its quick demise very quickly, and maybe even a return to the state of Georgia, or the Republic of Georgia as it's officially called, here in the future. But outside of West Abkhazia and inside of the Russian Federation, things have certainly not been going well for the Russians in this area either. We've been able to see that more video and picture evidence has emerged from the attack that happened last night towards a Russian airbase inside of the Krasnodar Krai Oblast of the southern Russian area of the Federation, or the southern area of the Russian Federation, to say that properly. And it does appear that a decent amount of damage was caused to this airfield, which was being used to operate Russian fighter bombers such as the Su-34 that have been in operation in the Ukraine war for years at this point. Meanwhile, the Russians have also been engaging and attempting to destroy, and sometimes successfully destroying, some Ukrainian sea drones that are still attempting to attack the port of Sevastopol. While a large amount of the Russian Federation's Black Sea fleet and a great deal of their combat vessels have moved to Novorossiysk and Vostochny Rayon, most of the Russian Navy's logistical support vessels, such as the remaining landing ships like the Alligator class, are still inside of Sevastopol at the moment, and it does appear that the Ukrainians still consider these to be a priority target that they are attempting to destroy, although they are being met with various levels of success when attempting to follow that through. Heading outside of Sevastopol, though, we have also been hearing a great deal of news outside of different areas inside of the front line. In the Kursk area, we've been able to see that a Russian prisoner was captured. It gave a very interesting story about North Korean soldiers that are currently fighting in Kursk, and also the poor levels of training that they have been receiving. We were also able to see a interesting instance of Rochelle Senators, a Canadian-provided armored car, once again being destroyed or heavily damaged to the point that the hull cracked completely. Once again showing that the Rochelle Senator is not an MRAP that is capable for frontline fighting, and more so was made for a different role. Hopefully that'll be noted, and it'll be withdrawn from frontline service and put into less active areas of the front line. Meanwhile, in different areas, we've also been able to see Ukrainian forces conducting defensives near to the city of Kupiansk, the areas around the Severonsky Forest, as well as Bakhmut, Terrensk, and Pokrovsk, as the area of the Donetsk has turned into an absolute war zone today, with the Russian Federation attempting to move their steamroller deeper and deeper into Donetsk, although meeting an immovable Ukrainian defense that has been inflicting very high casualties and producing an incredibly large headache, as Russian Federation armed forces have really not been able to move forward at all over the past 24 hours in the entirety of the front line from the Severonsky Forest and all the way down to Kurakove at the very southern end of the Pokrovsk battlefield. There is a load of news to cover today without question, and we certainly have a lot to share with each and every single one of y'all. And
also, you know something else, Enforcer? I'm noticing we're missing a few old channel legends tonight, and I already know where they're at. I'm just going to say this real quick because we don't want to harp on it, because of course this is about Ukraine right now, but my money's on Tyson. I'm just going to leave it at that.
You know what? I'm actually going to make a comment on that as well. Tonight, we are seeing a notable decrease in viewership at the moment. Right now, we usually would have at least over 6,000 people, getting kind of close to 7,000 people on at this point. Tonight, we only have about 5,300 people. And that's because a large amount of people currently are watching the fight that is going on, well, is going to be going on here soon, in between Iron Mike Tyson and the dubious Jake Paul. We do understand that this fight is one for the ages, and a lot of people are going and watching it right now, and I'm not going to lie, we were actually watching the fights leading up to the show as much as we possibly could. I didn't really get to watch much of them, but we were trying to watch as much of them as possible. Many people know that there's going to be an interesting little bit of a fight tonight, and a lot of people say that is a fight for the ages. People are putting their bets behind Mike Tyson, or they're not putting their bets behind anyone at all at this point, it seems, because I don't really think anyone's a big fan of Jake Paul, at least from what I'm seeing. But still, I would like to know, are y'all behind Mike Tyson, or y'all behind Jake Paul? Let me know, and also if you are watching the stream tomorrow because you were watching the fight tonight, I have no ill will. I would be honest, I would actually be wanting to watch the fight right now, but we want to make sure to get huge news out to y'all, considering that something major came out today, and it was a bombshell update and announcement. But nevertheless, if you were watching the fight, I completely understand, and my money's on Mike. And so with that, we are going to be moving on into the major news that we have tonight. And it looks like everyone's behind Mike Tyson, and I have not seen a single person say Jake Paul yet. Actually, no, I saw one person say Jake Paul. Huh.
Man, I think they're saying that not because they're for the guy. I think they're just saying that because they think his age difference is going to make him win, which could be possible. I hope Mike Tyson doesn't ruin his whole reputation with this one, kind of like petty fight a little bit. Honestly, it kind of is a petty fight because the guy, the Jake Paul fella, even though he says he's a real boxer, it's like, Mike Tyson's an actual lifelong boxer. So he has a whole legacy behind him and stuff like that in the boxing profession. So hopefully he wins it.
Hopefully he does. I would hope that he does. But moving on from that and getting on into the breaking news, because I know that y'all aren't here to hear about the fight. Y'all are here to get the news, and the news will be provided. And so moving on into the Islamic Republic of Iran to hear the most major news that we got today, we are going to be moving, actually on Google Maps as well, into southeastern Tehran, or really the outskirts of southeastern Tehran, near to the area of Parchin. Now, this is a very interesting place because nearby there is a compound that exists, I believe, somewhere up here, actually. I think this is the one, or it's somewhere at least within this general area around Parchin. I was not able to find it on the map. We were able to find a picture of the facility, and I wasn't really able to find anything else of it, but nevertheless, there is a facility near to this area in Parchin. And today, a massive statement was made by the United States Department of Defense and its intelligence agencies, as well as the Israeli Ministry of Defense and their intelligence agencies, and something that I'm not really sure, because we're not really sure with how this was stated, if they knew this before they made the statement today, or if they just found out and then they made the statement. I'm assuming that they did know, considering that it would have had to have been a listed target of the attack. But according to the information that we have, and I'm going to read this to y'all right here as it came out today, Israel has destroyed a top-secret nuclear weapons research center in Iran, according to Axios, citing American and Israeli officials. The target was the Talagan 2 military facility located within the Parchin military complex southeast of Tehran. Satellite images show the building is completely destroyed. The Israeli Defense Forces struck the facility on the 25th of October in response to Iran's attack on Israel on October 1st. And when that was when Iran launched around 200 rockets at Israeli cities. We covered that here on this channel live when it was happening. But nevertheless, this facility right here, and this is a picture of it. Once again, I wasn't able to find the exact area and geolocate it near to the area of Parchin. It is in the Parchin military district, which gives us an idea that it's somewhere in this area. It is southeast of Tehran, but for some reason, we just cannot find it on satellite picture, which is fairly interesting. Usually we have a pretty good knack for finding this stuff, but I just could not for the life of me find this one. Maybe it's because it's the desert and generally the buildings kind of blend in with the background. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but still, it does appear that the Israelis and the United States were able to get an unbelievably massive victory in this strike. We did know that the Israelis had threatened the Iranians that if they were to respond to their October 1st strike, they were going to be targeting Iranian oil and nuclear facilities. we then heard when the Israelis conducted their attack in response to the October 1st Iranian missile attack after they killed Nasrallah inside of Lebanon, that they only hit military facilities. And that was a little bit weird because we did have a video clip that showed that there was some kind of an explosion off in the distance around the Kajir National Park, which interestingly enough is actually close to the Parchin military district. And we are now starting to believe, putting all together all of the information and evidence that we had at this point, we actually watched that day when that stream came out, which funnily enough was removed by YouTube for reasons. But nevertheless, we are now understanding, putting together the entire picture that we had, that those strikes and explosions that looked like they were coming from Kajir National Park were actually coming from somewhere around the Parchin military district and were the Israeli missiles hitting this nuclear research facility and completely destroying it. This is a huge success, not only for Israel, but for the United States in this area. And the diplomatic repercussions and consequence of this are going to be very strongly felt really for years. The Iranian nuclear weapons program has been something of great concern, especially on this channel, and to many discerning people around the Western world. The Iranian government is an incredibly fragile one, usually controlling through an iron fist being brought on the people on a practically daily basis, meaning that their government and its existence is incredibly it's a very careful balancing of a house of cards, to put it the best way, and the Iranian government understands this. And to be able to try and make sure that they're able to keep their government in power and in control, they have to be able to have an external enemy to direct a lot of people's angst and really anger with the Iranian government towards, and that country is the state of Israel. And not only that, ideologically, that also falls inside of the government's ideological framework in Iran as well. And this means that they have to be able to continue to show that they are making concerted efforts towards the state of Israel to be able to try and divert their public's attention elsewhere rather than at their own government. And to be able to produce a nuclear weapon would be the key triumph on being able to put the Israelis in a massively disadvantageous position, and not only that, also trying to make sure that they will be able to really deliver a deadly strike to the state of Israel if they wanted to. We understand that due to the population density and the small size of the state of Israel, a single nuclear weapon could actually cripple the state of Israel if fired onto it and striking inside of the country. Of course, that doesn't mean that their abilities would be completely removed entirely by one nuclear strike, but it could end up largely destroying Israel as it is seen in the modern day. For this reason, the Israelis did want to destroy these nuclear facilities, and we had heard that there was a great deal of pressure by the United States of America not to strike the nuclear facilities because they stated that that may be too escalatory, and the Israelis said that this is prime time and they really don't want to miss out on a historical moment. Then the strike happened and we heard nothing about them hitting nuclear research facilities. Now today we're finally hearing about it, and it means that the Iranians will not be able to produce a nuclear weapon for many more months or maybe even years, depending on how important this facility was to the Iranian nuclear research program that is currently still underway. We do understand.
Enforcer, the one question that I have that a lot of people asked in the comments of my short war video today is, why did it take the Israeli officials and also the American officials this long to come out and finally report this in its official capacity, that the nuclear facility was indeed hit and completely destroyed? Because obviously the Iranians knew about it. They were literally the ones in charge of the country and the facility, so they knew it was hit, and the Israelis knew they hit it as well, but yet it was kept secret from the public. And I have not really been able to figure out why they would have wanted to keep that secret, because there's really no honest reason they would actually want to keep it secret, in my opinion. So what is your speculation on that? Why do you think they've kept it secret until now?
It's actually a great question, because I really don't know why they kept that secret for so long, because if I remember correctly, we can actually reference the map that we had during that time, and let me just go to Google My Maps and pull it up, because we could easily find it. Google My Maps. And let me go here, and let me go to the one that is dated for the time around, and let me make sure it would have been around October 25th. So it would be,
okay. I'm seeing some people in the live chat giving some good ideas here. Some people were saying it might have been because of the election, and that actually might make sense. But at the same time, though, it kind of still doesn't make sense to me, because, it's going to come out eventually. And also, if Iran was going to respond, they would have done that like pretty quick. They were going to immediately respond to that. So they haven't. So I'm not sure. That's a plausible explanation, but I'm not sure if that's the actual explanation.
Once again, I want to make sure that I'm able to find the clip here, because we actually do have the map. I'm trying to show it right here. Here we go. And so we can actually go through our geolocations, because I remember that there was one. Maybe it was not that one. Maybe it was this one. Because one of them was put off into the distance, and we did hear that that was apparently at the Kajir National Park, because I remember talking specifically about this little area right here, and that there wasn't really any strategic significance that we could see from the outset to hitting that facility. So let me see if I can find it. And interestingly enough, we're not seeing that there, for some reason, I'm not seeing the clip, which is interesting, because I remember, if many of y'all will remember back to that stream, which sadly isn't on YouTube for people to go and quickly reference, if you think back to it, there was a clip that we saw, and it was of an Iranian citizen, and he was looking eastwards in the clip towards a bright flash and then a small fire that started to burn outside of the city of Tehran. It was clearly outside, because you could see the city's end near the area of Hakimiyya, right on the eastern end, and it looked like it was somewhere around that direction. And going off of that, I remember that we said there was something that has been hit out there, but we don't know what it is. And then when we zoomed in into the area around Tehran, we zoomed in into this area around the Kajir National Park, I think right around here, and we could not find anything of note that would have been stricken by an Israeli airstrike. And so we said we don't know what that strike is, but it hit something off in the far distance, and that was left as a mystery. I do not see the clip, though, on the map, interesting enough. Like, we had the clip, but I'm not seeing it. And so, let me see here. Maybe it's one of these clips from the next day. No, it's not. Let me just
Also,
go
real quick, Enforcer, while you're still looking for it, I see Adventure Camping Zone, the live chat, said announcing the attack on the nuclear facility to the public could create some panic concerning Iran having a nuke. And, you know, they'd already told the public about that, though. We had already been saying from the State Department that the nuclear weapons were in final stages of development after it was struck right there on that date, on October the 25th. So I don't think they were not announcing it because they were concerned about the public freaking out because the facility was attacked. I don't think that would have been the primary concern. There's got to be like some really, really strong reason why they would not have released that to the public, unless they simply said, let's just keep it secret for the hell of it, which wouldn't make any sense at all. So I don't know. That's a good question that we might need to get an answer to eventually, because I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would like to know why that was the case. I still cannot find the clip. I'm going to have to give up on this search because it might be on a different map, although this map is pretty much all of the amalgamated information that we had from that day, if I remember correctly, of everything that happened. I'm not seeing the clip, oddly enough. We have the ones down in Shiraz, and we also have the ones over in Israel as well from the moment, but for some reason we still don't see the one at Kajir, and I specifically remember it. So if anyone can go through, maybe one of our keepers of the records like Miss Disa can go through and find that for us if they can, that would be greatly appreciated, because I swear that we had a clip from this area and we showed it on stream. I remember it very vividly, and it's not on this map for some reason. Maybe I'm misremembering it. It was a clip from a different area and it just looked to be in a remote location, because I literally cannot see anything that looks like it at all on this map. So anyways, with that, getting off of my wild goose chase for something that apparently does not exist, nevertheless, the damage is going to be hopefully severe to the Iranian nuclear weapons program, and ensuring that the Iranian government will not be able to yield a nuclear shield to protect themselves from any sort of major repercussions if they were to continue to escalate in this area. But meanwhile, we have been hearing that a lot of people have been wondering about this, especially considering that this news is actually about 3 weeks old at this point. The strike happened on the 25th of October, and we are just hearing this major news today as government officials have come out and started to state this. Nevertheless, new reports are saying that Israel did destroy a top Iranian nuclear facility during last month's attack, and a lot of people have been saying that the Iranians are probably going to retaliate soon, very soon actually, over this, or they're not going to retaliate at all. And it seems as though people are actually split on this topic. It's almost a split right down the middle. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so this is a pretty evenly split poll. About 41% said Iran will retaliate for the attack on the nuclear facility very soon, while 37% said Iran will not retaliate for this, and only 8% said, I'm not sure I believe the story about Israel actually striking the facility. And I'll say this, I personally believe it. It sounds like credible intel to me, because this came from not only Israeli sources, but also from American State Department sources as well. So it has been confirmed by two different governments that this attack did occur, and the entire nuclear facility was leveled to the ground on October the 25th. So it sounds pretty credible to me, and I tend to believe it. So I would say this. With an attack that severe, we were told that the Iranians were going to go nuclear, like figuratively and literally, over their facilities being hit like that. And we haven't seen that so far. We've seen Iran generally being somewhat quiet. And also, they had planned another attack on Israel, but we haven't even seen that one. So I'm beginning to think that Iran is going to step back and calm down for right now until they figure out which way American foreign policy is going to go, because it sounds like the upcoming administration might have a very strong and very fiery foreign policy in the Middle East, which could mean Iran's going to be actually bombed directly by the United States in the future. So they might be trying to basically calm things down so that way that doesn't really go so horribly on the Iranian countryside. So that's what I think. I'm with the I'm actually with the 36%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm gonna have to be with the 36%. I don't believe that they're going to be retaliating for this. We have heard that the Iranians have completely stopped the hype train about we're going to get the Israelis back. Oh, we're really going to get them this time. Like, we're going to slam them. By the way, this is a facility right here. A big shout out to both Frank and Damoon, who put in the facility's coordinates so I could go and throw that in on Google Maps. Y'all are legends, because I, for some reason, completely missed this. I actually moved straight up through that valley earlier and went, I don't see it. And it was literally just right off to the left. It was in view of the screen when I did the geolocation, or attempted to earlier. But nevertheless,
Also, shout out to Gunfox as well for sending that in also via email.
Oh, and a big shout out to all of y'all who have been sending in the coordinates. That was a massive help right there. But beyond that, though, I would have to believe that I'm going to be with the 37%. The hype train has completely died from the Iranians that they're going to be getting Israel back for the last strike on the 25th of October. And I think that they're not going to be striking them anytime soon. I think that the Iranians are smelling that there's actually they're feeling a bit of a change in the direction of the winds in the Middle East. And it's not really going to be a bit of a Wild West kind of a land like it has been, at least over the past year and a half or 2 years. It's going to have a little bit more of a rigid structure and possibly a lot more American involvement in the region, specifically against them. They may be trying to see if they can just wait that out and really kind of ride the storm and make sure that they don't get hit too badly, or they don't create any sort of a situation that would immediately compel the United States in these changing winds to start acting against them in any kind of a very decisive or violent way, if y'all are getting the gist here, bombing them pretty much. And so they may be trying to hold back and make sure that they don't do anything that's going to get Iran itself directly attacked by the United States and Israel again in a way that they won't really be able to recover from it. And so with that in mind, I'm actually going to be with the 37%. On top of that, this strike happened about 20 days ago, and we still have not seen them do anything against the state of Israel. Of course, sometimes it does take an entire month for them to be able to get their attack getting kind of like off the ground and running for the large part, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that the Iranians have any intent on striking, because they've gone completely dead silent on the idea of even doing it. And so with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, at least the best I can in my opinion. But moving on from that bombshell news of the Israelis being able to decisively destroy one of the Iranian nuclear research facilities, we are now going to be moving on into the southern area of Lebanon, where we have been able to see that Israeli ground operations have been continuing underway. And we are also hearing that the Israelis are still fighting for the area around Jannah, which is a major height near to the area of the city of Tyre that will allow them an overlook over the coastal plains in the area and over the city of Tyre itself. The battle is becoming quite intense, as we have seen a decent amount of Israeli action within the southern area of Lebanon, and we were able to see that right here. Also, they got that dog with them. Like, they are not holding back. The dogs are with them. Hopefully this music is not copyrighted. I have a feeling it's copyrighted, so we're going to be muting this, but we can see the Israelis laying down suppressive fire onto a ruined building that most likely has Hezbollah forces inside of it. That guy is not wearing a helmet correctly. We can now see the Israeli soldiers posting up. We can see one of them here firing a... You know, I wish I could identify that machine gun there. For some reason, that one's evading me at the moment.
Man, I thought you were about to drop some knowledge on us there for a second. I was like, you can really tell which one that is?
You know, like, that's a Tavor, obviously. For some reason, let me go back to this one. My original impression, you know what, I'm going to have to actually pull this up and check this, is that it's a Mini-Me, an FN Mini-Me, and it kind of, no, it's not. It's not. What the hell is that? Wait a minute, hang on, let me go look at Israeli machine guns, because
I see Gunfox 61 said it's an M60.
An M60? Is it? It doesn't really look like it. Let me see.
Some people were saying M240. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's an M240.
Let's see here. No, it's not. It's not an M240. At least it doesn't. Well, let's take a closer look at this. let me take a really close look at this, and let me doubly make sure, because there's like a heat guard on the front of the, wait a minute, no, that is an M240. Okay, that's why I couldn't identify it, because that's what I was originally thinking, and then I was thinking it looks kind of like an FN Minimi, which is a M240 anyways. It is an M240, but it has the heat shroud on the front of it right here removed. So that's what was throwing me off, is that it's gone on this one, and for some reason that made me start thinking an FN Minimi, although an FN Minimi is literally the same thing. Let me go pull it up. And so here we go. So if y'all don't know, the FN Minimi is pretty much the exact same thing as the M240. It's just a slightly different variant of it. And so I was very close on the money, but the lack of a heat shroud on the front of the thing threw me off. And so thank you so much, Gunfox61, for identifying that correctly, because I was about to say I don't even know what it is and go on a wild goose chase to figure out what it was. But we can now see the Israelis setting up in the rubble with the Tavors, preparing to lay down more suppressing fire on the Hezbollah forces in front of them as they battle for the heights in the southern area of Lebanon.
It's always crazy to see these guys with bullpups like that in an actual battle. Like, for some reason, like for me, I'm not a fan of bullpups. I would probably go into battle with anything other than that. So, it's kind of interesting to see it.
And it is interesting to see. Another interesting thing to see is that apparently now the UN has arrived on scene in the middle of the giant firefight going on in between Hezbollah and the IDF. They're now just going to show up.
I think their presence is probably not needed at this point.
And let's see here. We see this guy walking. He's like, "Hello, everyone. I'm just making sure that everyone's doing the good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, the commander from Desk 3-0. Yeah, we all know about that one.
Also, wait a minute, hang on. I want to make sure that we read these subtitles so that way you all know what's going on. So, hang on. So, this is the narrator. UNIFIL vehicles arrived in the area. The UN force in Southern Lebanon, which the IDF and Israel as a whole have always suspected in terms of their professionalism. And then the Israeli soldier down there said, "Get them out of there. They'll get us all sprayed." And we see the UN contractor pretty much coming in, and the UN contractor says, "Hello, how are you?" The Israeli says, "What's your name?" And the UN commander says, "Sir, I'm Captain Hassai, sir. Captain Hassai, we want to know who sent you here. Who told you to come here?" Captain Hassai says, "Our commander from Desk 30. They told us that we have approval from your side to take water to our military positions. Handle the situation if they spotted a terrorist, take him down. Sir, Desk 33. Sir, Desk 33. Well, he says they have clearance. Like, they say they have clearance to other UN bases and to distribute supplies. Who gave you this clearance? Kanatopsky. Wait, hang on, that went by. So, tell him to turn around and leave. Who provided you the authorization to come here? Our headquarters, sir. Where are you from, sir? Where are you from? We are from Nepal. Nepal, they are Nepalians, yes, okay. Nepal, yeah. So please tell your commanders, did you see Hezbollah guerrillas on the way? No, sir, I did not see Harambe. Haha, they gave a little laugh at that. Never, they never do. Please tell your commander we can't allow you to go here, because this is a fighting zone. You can get injured. You see, they're shooting here. Yes. So please go back. We want you to coordinate with our headquarters, and that we will get an order from our commander that we can allow you to pass. Okay, so now please turn back. Don't approach this area again. And don't come to this area. There is fighting here. It's dangerous for you. Yes, sir. Okay? Turn, please, this back and go back. Be careful because they're shooting over here. Okay, thank you. And Captain Hassai gets up, the UN command, and leaves. And
hey, that's a smart thing, man. Smart thing. I wouldn't trust him either, me personally.
Yeah, because the news reporter here with the camera said, "Do you trust him?" And the Israeli commander said, "Absolutely not." It's the second time this has happened to us. The exact same thing. We were in another village, and suddenly UN trucks showed up out of the blue. And we had no idea this was a fighting zone. We weren't aware of this. And I'm from the security zone. I'm 47 years old now. We remember this from back then, too. That there's a cooperation. We can see it. Can I say I trust them? Cooperation between whom exactly? Between the UN and those on the ground, the Lebanese. Maybe with Hezbollah. And the clip ends right here, but showing this.
Also notice, like, the guy didn't know where the Hezbollah were, the UN fellow right there, which is kind of intriguing a little bit. But honestly, like, I think we all kind of like have an idea here what was going on. I'm not going to say it outright because I don't know for a fact, but it's pretty obvious to me, in my opinion, what these guys were doing in the UN truck right here. And I think the Israeli fellow right here knew it as well. And it's really interesting to see that on video.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Also, I do not remember on the UN schedule, at least recently, any Nepalese contractors being in the area. I remember the Senegalese, the Italians, the Irish, and I believe let me think. I believe it was Malaysians in the area. I don't remember there being any Nepalese. I wonder if we can find any information on that here and research that, because maybe one of the contractors that the UN has sent into this area has changed to be a Nepalese expeditionary unit or something along those lines. We're not entirely sure, but still, that is an interesting occurrence. From what we understand, though, this actually would be happening close to Chinna, which is most likely actually within the Italian zone of control currently. So that is a little interesting to see that happened on film. And also is showing why, in some instances, things like that are happening. Because that wasn't set up at all. That literally just happened in the middle of them having a firefight that the UN showed up. And some people always say some interesting things about stuff like this, because every once in a while the UN does come under fire in this area, and people are always wondering, well, did the Israelis do it to them, or did the UN do something to get the Israelis to fire on them? In some instances like this, it may actually be the case that they're getting in the middle of a firefight and getting shot at, or something along those lines, like they were told to evacuate and then they refused, like the Irish peacekeeper contingent did near to the area of Maroun al-Raz, and that may be the reason why we're seeing some incidents like that in between the IDF and the UN peacekeepers, or what we call the UN contractors, that are inside the area at the time. I also have to explain really quickly that there is a difference in between what people understand the UN to be and what the UN and its peacekeepers really are. Some people understand that the UN has a private army, and that is a complete misconception. The United Nations does not have a standing army or any kind of an armed force that they can draw on at any moment. The United Nations actually has to contract out their security missions to other countries. And so that's why you saw that commander was from Nepal. It's not that he just happened to be from Nepal and a part of the UN army. He's actually a part of the Nepalese army, and the nation of Nepal accepted a UN contract to send a part of their armed forces to Southern Lebanon to conduct peacekeeping operations in that area. The Nepalese government is paid for those soldiers to be there, and that's largely how some of these countries are able to get additional funding. Many countries really contribute to that pot. It's actually a great deal of them, and every single country pays money into the United Nations, almost in the form of union dues, and then the United Nations will take this pot of money that they have and then pretty much dole it out to countries that will accept these peacekeeping contracts and then move into these areas. Interestingly enough, back in the day, it used to be a larger amount of the, I guess you could say, economically stronger countries that used to undertake these peacekeeping missions, like the United States or the United Kingdom or other countries like France, and also Ireland as well. Ireland still does. But nowadays in the modern world, we usually see that these countries generally avoid peacekeeping missions inside the United Nations, and very rarely do them, or make up a very small percentage of the number of active UN peacekeepers or contractors that are in the area. However, in the modern day, we usually do see that countries that are more, suffice it to say, third world, that really are looking for ways to make cash, usually are the people who try and cash in on the UN peacekeeping missions, and that's why you'll usually see that UN peacekeepers are from countries like Nepal, or countries inside of Central Africa or Southeastern Asia, where they also come from in great numbers. We do see that sometimes the Chinese actually get involved in some of these UN peacekeeping operations, but that's to give the Chinese a little bit of at least some training or experience with expeditionary operations, considering that they do have to send Chinese forces abroad to be able to conduct these peacekeeping operations, and the Chinese don't really get a lot of experience with expeditionary force operations outside of their borders. But moving on from that and that explanation of how the UN works and why that situation did happen, and also all the mechanisms in the background in the UN that made a situation like that occur on film. Nevertheless, that battle that we were watching is a big part of the battle around Shinar right now, as the Israelis are moving into the area and hoping to control the heights that overlook the city of Tyre, the coastal plains looking further north to Adlun, and also those looking south towards the area of the Israeli-Syrian border. We are understanding that the Israelis are still largely in almost complete control of the situation on the ground, and they are continuing, along with their airstrikes in Beirut, to put Hezbollah on the back foot and to continue to push them further north and towards the banks of the Litani River, which isn't actually that far away at this point. The Litani River actually runs a valley just south of Nabatea. We actually believe it's somewhere around right here. That is actually the Litani River right there. And so from Chinab, directly north, we would see, and let me get out the measuring stick here, that the Litani River is only about 8 miles away, meaning that the Israelis have already moved about 7 miles into Lebanon, and they're about halfway to their first offensive objective of making it to the banks of the Litani River and then holding there until further orders are issued, and probably until Hezbollah starts to continue hostile operations from further north of Nabatea and also north of the banks of the Litani River. But moving on from the Middle East, which has been a very interesting place today, there is a very interesting thing going on in an area that is very close to being in the Middle East, but not quite. The country of Georgia. Georgia is a country that technically is actually, I believe, in Asia, as the Caucasus Mountains here actually divide Europe from Asia, and also the Ural Mountains also divide Europe from Asia as well. So this entire area of Russia is technically Europe, and I believe a part of Kazakhstan is also technically a part of Europe as well, but nevertheless, Georgia is actually still inside of Asia, and so you could kind of make an argument that it's in either Asia Minor sort of, or it really is in the Middle East of a sort. But nevertheless, the Republic of Georgia has been going through a great deal of turmoil lately, as they did hold a presidential election a little while ago, and the Georgian Dream Party, which is largely Russian-backed and Russian-aligned, won in a landslide in incredibly suspicious circumstances. And we were seeing that even the Georgian government did not believe the outcome of the election, and it appears that the Georgian citizenry have also been conducting practically endless soup and salad versions of protests since that election occurred. It appears that it's even spilling over into areas that technically aren't even a part of Georgia. And this is actually something interesting that a lot of people don't know. The Russian Federation has invaded Georgia in the past, in the 2000s, in 2008, and actually invaded the Republic of Georgia quite significantly, and ended up out of this arrangement getting 2 puppet states that they still control to this day. And you can actually see where they exist with these dotted lines inside of Georgia. This is the Republic of West Abkhazia, which is a very whimsical sounding name, but largely it's just a puppet state of the Russian Federation that is controlled by the Russians, but still has a fake government that pretty much exists inside the territory. This little area right here, just north of Tbilisi, or Tbilisi, which is the capital of Georgia, is South Ossetia. It's called South Ossetia because the oblast that it borders just north of it is technically called Ossetia, so this is, according to the Russians, the southern end of Ossetia. But nevertheless, this is also another autonomous republic that the Russian Federation created that is not internationally recognized. It is only recognized by Georgia because that's what they agreed to in the peace treaty, and the Russian Federation. But nevertheless, these 2 unofficial states have existed since around 2009, ever since the end of the Georgian War, which it started at the end of 2008 and went into the very beginning of 2009. And since then, the Russian Federation has been controlling these areas, and not only that, we've even seen West Abkhazians and South Ossetians being sent into Russia and into Ukraine to fight against Ukraine in the war, something that we generally understand most of the Georgian population in the actual Republic of Georgia is not happy with at all. And it appears that today, the unrest that's happening inside the Republic of Georgia has flooded over actually into the Russian puppet states like West Abkhazia, and chaos is ensuing. They invaded the Capitol building like they actually did today, and we were able to see that here in these clips. Check this out.
Just dismantling the whole fence. That's a hell of a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally just ripping the fence apart. And there it goes. And that's the end of that clip right there. But moving on from that and into the clips from earlier today, because those were even crazier, we were able to see that the Georgians living inside of Russian-occupied Abkhazia were invading the Capitol building. No joke, look at this. I mean, they're flooding in. They're almost creating a human crush up there. climbing in the windows and
Over
everything.
the windows too. I'm telling you, man, this is well, I can't say that, but it looks very intriguing, like something else.
It's very interesting. It has a very winter-like feeling to it, something that has a January feel to it. But nevertheless, look, it's happening here.
It's a big crowd too.
Well, you see the Abkhazian authorities now, and they're actually getting pushed around right here.
You know, those Russian agents were also inside the building as well. They couldn't get control of anybody. Like after they crawled through the windows and the doors and they started flooding the building with the rioters, the Russians were literally just standing in there and they were not doing a thing. They were just helpless.
They really were helpless at that point. I don't really think there was much that they could do, to be entirely honest, but we were able to see that they then started to try and deploy gas against the incoming protesters, which did not work either.
Oh, that truck ramming the gate too.
And they're getting kind of a little creative out here. Well, you see the truck now jerking itself out so that we can start flooding in after the gate was crushed. And there they went into the fold and straight towards the Capitol building of West Abkhazia. I would have to say that it looks as though the Russian grip over West Abkhazia may be starting to fall. And if the Russian government does not get heavily involved with a decent amount of armed forces in this area to put down the mob and also to once again retain order for the puppet state that they've had in this area, we do believe that West Abkhazia may be looking at very uncertain times, maybe even a time where they may return to the control of the Republic of Georgia here in the near future. It is something to say that the Russians even appear to be losing control over the puppet states that they've had for well over a decade at this point. They've had these under their control for a little over 15 years, and now the reign appears to finally be ending, at least within West Abkhazia, for this moment. But still, we are going to be waiting and seeing how this goes. We can only measure this on a day-by-day basis, but certainly the spark has been ignited for possibly even larger action to occur and for West Abkhazia to cease to exist. Although that has not happened yet, we will be watching. And so moving on out...
You know what I think the Russians are trying to do with this bill right here? Because the bill basically allows the Russian oligarchs to come in and buy up the coastal land somewhat cheap from the Abkhazians. And I think they're trying to move on from Crimea because it's so dangerous there. And they're trying to basically get some new coastal property. And this time they're going to go and get it from Abkhazia and live there instead. That could be what they're doing, but that's got the people super riled up about that simple investment bill right there. So it sounds to me like the investment bill is basically like sanctioned, like legal looting if it was passed. That's what it sounds like. And it sounds like the people are not very happy.
And it doesn't really sound like they're happy at all. And that actually leads us into a very interesting question here, because Russia is fighting a major uprising right now in West Abkhazia at the moment. And a lot of people are really believing that it might actually escalate, or it may escalate to the point of no war, or it may turn into an actual war in between the Republic of Georgia and the Russian Federation a second time around. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
So it looks like 40% of the audience said, yes, this is going to lead to a real war between the Abkhazians and also Russia, while 32% said it will escalate, but simply no war resulting from it, and 15% said no, it will subside eventually, and it will not escalate. And I think personally, because right now we're not really seeing the riots really subside very much, it looks like they're actually sticking to it, the rioters that is, and they are once again occupying the Capitol building there in Abkhazia. So they are not going away anytime soon, it looks like. They might be there to stay, and it looks like that bill might have to get rescinded before there's any de-escalation. So I'm with the 33%. I think it will escalate for the time being, but no war just yet unless the Russians refuse to retract that bill, because it looks like the Abkhazians don't want their land stolen from them, which is understandable, and they're trying to rebel against it. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say it does appear that this is going to be escalating greatly. Even if the Russians do send in armed forces to put down the mob at the moment, or really the uprising that's starting to occur, I think that there's still going to be some long-lasting tensions in this area that may eventually see that West Abkhazia returns back to Georgian control in the future. I'm not really sure, though, what it could turn into, because the Russians act swiftly, and we really don't know if they have the ability or the wish to act swiftly at the moment. They may be be able to stop this before it gets severe and their puppet state pretty much ceases to exist. If they don't really react and they allow this to continue to grow, we probably will end up seeing that West Abkhazia breaks away from Russian control and returns back to the Republic of Georgia. Once again, this is all hypotheticals, and there is something important to remember, that the Russian Federation is beginning to use this small little coal harbor right here as a mooring for the Russian Navy in some limited instances for their smaller vessels to try and get them away from Ukraine so that way they can't be blown up that easily. So that may weigh into Russian decision making, and they may come in and put down the mobs just so that way they can protect their naval mooring at Ochimchiri, or they may actually let this go on and then eventually lose their mooring at Ochimchiri and the entire puppet state of West Abkhazia itself. One interesting thing that y'all may not know, and this is actually a cool little fact here, is that in DCS World, the online game that you can play that simulates military aircraft to an absolute T, you too can actually see this place. You can actually see West Abkhazia. You actually take off at your spawning airport either in Sochi, right here on the Russian side, or I believe it's actually one of the airfields down here near to the area of, let's see here, I believe it's right here near Gadada. I believe this is also one of the airfields that you can spawn at, or you can spawn at the airfield in Tbilisi, because that map is supposed to be recreating the Georgian War of 2008. Pretty interesting fact about that, because the only time I've ever played DCS World, it was on that map, and I flew around and then I got obliterated by an AMRAAM like 4 minutes in. So it was...
And you'd think we were sponsored by DCS or something, but we're not. We're not sponsored.
You would think, but I thought I would just throw out a fun fact for all of y'all to know, because it's an interesting game, and if you haven't played it, and you want to literally live the life of a fighter pilot, maybe you'll give it a consideration or something. I don't know. But anyways, moving on out of Georgia and moving on into the rest of the news that we have tonight, we have loads and loads of news to cover up here in the area around Ukraine. But before we get into that, I'm so sorry, everyone, but I do have to ask this question. Matthew, are they fighting yet?
No, they're not fighting yet. The two women fighters are currently fighting. I'm really not sure what their names are. I think it's Serrano and I'm honestly, I'm not trying to disrespect the other one, but I don't know her name. She's from Ireland though, so probably related to Conor McGregor maybe. But
do what you're told.
Yeah, do what you're told, but no, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul are not fighting yet. Also, Netflix just crashed 3 times, by the way. I'm not watching the fight because obviously I'm here on the stream and running this right now, so I can't focus on it. But it's running in the corner of the room over here, and I'm keeping an eye on it real quick. Also, the other lady's name is Taylor, by the way, so that's who that is. So they're interesting. It looks like they're fighting pretty hard from the few glances I've taken at it, but obviously we're all waiting for the big one. So I'll be interested to see that. I'm seeing some people saying it's going to be in like 30 minutes or something like that. So we'll be watching.
Well, hopefully it's better than the first 2 fights, because the first 2 fights were kind of mid.
No, the second fight was good, man. Those guys were slugging it out. That first fight, though, I don't know what the hell was going on with that. Like, that one dude... Tickle. Yeah, he got on the other guy. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, he, got on the other guy. So, I don't know what was going on. That first fight was a joke. Like, the fact that Mike Tyson's on the same card as those guys, fighting like that and sort of play fighting like that is kind of a bit disrespectful, if you're asking me, a little bit. Sort of a disrespect to, boxing as a sport. But the other ones have been pretty good.
Interesting. That's interesting to hear, because the one let's see, with I'm just gonna, I forgot the guy's name, man, but it's the guy who did the whole Aztec warrior thing, so I'm just gonna call him the Aztec warrior. That was a pretty cool little fight for the little bit I got to see. I didn't get to see the end of it though, just to let y'all know, so that's why maybe I was saying it was mid, because the earlier rounds that I was able to see, there weren't really a lot of punches being thrown, and I think the other guy that was fighting the Aztec warrior ended up going down twice or so, but he ended up getting back up. It was an interesting little fight, but still, it's, for some reason, I don't know why, Matthew, but knowing that Mike Tyson is there, I'm just expecting 1-round knockouts right now for some reason from every single fight, and when they're not happening, I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, what is this? But
man,
still,
I hope he wins. Seriously, I hope he wins, because I personally don't like the Paul brothers. That's just me. I don't think a lot of people like the Paul brothers. They seem a little sketchy, just from a personal perspective. But Tyson has a career in boxing. It's don't go out, because this might be his last fight ever. This one tonight. Don't go out letting that kid take you out. I know there's a huge age difference between those two guys right there, but I hope that Mike Tyson can pull this one out just to basically save the face of boxing a little bit, because the fight, I'll be honest, is a little gimmicky because he's fighting someone that's way, way, way younger than him, and just on that fact alone, he might have a tough time like Tyson. So, I think he's getting paid $20 million though, so that brought him out.
Yeah, that's true. Also, another thing I gotta say is, as far as the fight goes, I just got to say, it's so stupid. The way Jake Paul tried to set up the fight yesterday during the weigh-in. We watched the weigh-in. It was stupid because he sat there and said, like in their little intro that they gave, because they gave both of them like a quick little video intro. Jake Paul said, "I'm sorry, Mike Tyson, but it's my time now." Like, that was such a stupid thing. This is making it sound like Jake Paul's about to take the heavyweight champion belt from Mike Tyson. It's like he doesn't even have it right now. It's like there's been so many heavyweight champions since Mike Tyson. It's like, why don't you go fight them? Like, if you want it to be your time, really, why don't you actually go fight the person who has the heavyweight champion belt instead of Mike Tyson? Like, that's not deriding Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson is truly a legend. But it's so stupid for him to try and make it sound like it's his time to shine, and he's going to put Mike Tyson out of the limelight. It's like Mike Tyson's been out of the limelight for like 20 years. Like, he's not the heavyweight champion. He has not been for a while. And it's so stupid to try and word it that way, because Jake Paul's entire boxing career is fighting people who either hardly are even in his same weight league, or they're way older than him, and they're people who were once the greats, but they're not the greats anymore because they've gotten old and boxing has moved on. And it's like, that's just so annoying to me that he would say stupid stuff like that and try and set it up like that, because anyone with brains would be able to see it's not his time to shine, because Mike Tyson isn't exactly shining anymore. But I still hope that Mike Tyson gives his ass a shiner for saying something stupid like that. Really, that would be my take. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And also, I see a lot of people saying, boxing isn't really my thing or something like that. I don't know, it's my thing. I can say that. And of course, to each his own. But still, I wish I was able to watch this fight, because I hear that it's going to be happening soon. It sounds like the women's fight is going to end very soon, because one of them's gotten their eyebrows split open. And so they're going to round that thing out. So I wish we could watch it. I really wish we could, because I wanted to see it. I was wanting to see it so badly. I was told it was going to be the first fight of the night, and it wasn't, and I was very saddened by that, because I thought I was going to be able to see it live. But anyways, with that, before we move on into the Ukraine war news, which there is a good bit of, Matthew, I understand that we actually have a couple of questions, and what do we got, Matthew? I'm sure we have interesting ones. Oh, what are they?
All right, so our first super chat question of the night actually came in via PayPal, which is usually something we don't do. But Tony got my email and he sent it over to our Enforcer Media PayPal. So good on Tony for finding that, because most people can't find it. And he threw in a $100 donation, and a huge thanks to you, Tony, for that $100 support, and we appreciate it very much. And of course, I did not get to see the comment attached to it, because I didn't get to open the PayPal right now. But if there was a comment, Tony, let me know in the live chat, and we will call it off. But huge shout out to you, and thank you very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you so much for the support, Tony, and helping this channel keep on running, Tony. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are going to be moving on to the next one. But a massive shout out to you once again for the support, and a very interesting way to throw it in. We always accept super chats pretty much through the super chat system on YouTube. Very rarely, if ever, have they really come through PayPal. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to none other than Ari Sowini, who puts in a $50 donation. And huge shout out to you, Ari, for that massive support. Kiwi Wife and Finn, that is. They said, thank you for being the best YouTube channel ever. LSA and Tyson for the win.
And thank you so much for the support, Ari Sowini. And I got to tell you that it is amazing that you enjoy this channel massively, Ari Sowini, and you're supporting it and helping to keep on running. And thank you for enjoying the channel and saying that's the best of the best. We try our best to have this thing running, no matter how successful it is. Tonight's actually going to end up being a rough night. From what we can tell, a lot of people are off watching the fight right now, and a lot of people would not believe that, but I can actually attest that 100%. Our streams have been getting a slightly lower viewership these days, and when I say slightly lower, we went from having about 10 to 11,000 viewers a night to now we're getting around 8 to 9,000 a night, and tonight our peak viewership is 6.7. So there is at least, even on the lower end of people watching, there's a few thousand live viewers who are not here right now, and they're off watching the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. We know that 100% because every single time there's a massive drop in viewership like that, it's either the Super Bowl, or it's a presidential debate, or it's a Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. It's something big that's really captivated people's attention. Generally, our rule is that we cancel shows on nights like these because a lot of people are going to be off elsewhere. But tonight's news was so big, we wanted wanted to make sure to get it out regardless of whether people were going to be here or not. So beyond that, I got to thank you for being one of the people who is here tonight, Ari Sweeney, because hell or high water, we're going to keep this thing running. And of course, Tyson for the win. Now, with that though, I gotta say this, I am going to be honest, Tyson is old, and Tyson is past his prime. Doesn't mean that he was not one of the greatest boxers of all time. I would honestly argue that he is one of the greatest boxers of all time, up there with folks like Jack Dempsey. But at the same time, though, the thing is that he's 58 years old, and physiologically, there's a point where you pass your prime, and Mike Tyson has passed his prime by quite a good bit at this point, by at least a couple of decades. And so I don't really like the idea of someone like Jake Paul challenging Mike Tyson just because of his name value to a fight, knowing that he's well past his prime, and then wanting to make it sound like it's a ticket box kind of an event. It really isn't, to be quite honest. But just for that reason alone, I'm rooting for Mike Tyson, because I hope that he somehow whips out some of that prime level fighting that he used to do, and he just gives this guy an absolute greaser. Because that would be great if he did. Because I don't really like this kind of a thing. It feels like, and I'm not saying it is this, but it feels scammy, because it's like just trying to go around and get notoriety because you fight the greats that used to be great. Like, it's like if you really wanted a name for yourself and you really wanted to show your proficiency and skill as a good fighter, you would go and actually fight the real professional boxers that are out there right now, and then eventually challenge the heavyweight champion that is currently out there at the moment. It's like, it's just annoying to me how that's done, but it's nothing new with the Paul brothers. Like, it's nothing new at all, because they had like the whole CryptoPunks thing, and now I think one of them's doing a Lunchly or something like that. You know, it's an endless kind of a strewn with that sort of a thing. So it's nothing new, but it's always annoying to see. And also, that's another reason why I'm tacking on the whole Mike Tyson thing, because if Mike Tyson wins, like, just being honest with y'all, that's going to bring Jake Paul out of boxing. Like, I'll be entirely honest, because then it'll look like, oh, I didn't really do that good at that. He'll move on into being like the next Andrew Tate or something here really soon. But still, with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. Huge thanks to you once again for massive support, Ari Sweeney, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next one here and our last one of the first segment is going to go to Ari Sweeney yet again with another massive $50 donation. Hey! Thank you very much, Ari. More for the second support of the night. And they said, Tyson, otherwise, what's his face if he wins by knockout? And I ran out of coffee, and here's for the coffee fund so it doesn't happen to you.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for supporting the coffee fund. We always need coffee to keep this channel running. It is the lifeline of this channel for the large part. And we are always happy to know that folks are supporting the coffee fund. And for a little while, I actually ran out of coffee like about a week ago, and it was tough. But I did have a coffee tonight, and I feel quite great. I feel absolutely marvelous. And would y'all like to feel good? Well, make sure to get yourself some of those instant Colombian coffee crystals, because you will feel better. This isn't real coffee? If you get the reference, you know. But still, thank you so much for the massive support. Once again, Ari Sweeney, I believe a combined 100 Australian dollar super chat, because support like that is helping this channel to stay on air and keep on running. And so with that, we are now going to be moving on out of this question segment and on into the rest of the news that we have tonight, because we have absolutely massive news as more developments have come out from the airfield airstrike that happened yesterday by the Ukrainians inside of Krasnodar Krai. We were able to get some more additional footage of the air defense action in the area right here. But you see the Russians firing a great deal as an impact hits the airfield.
I like to see the tracers at night. It's an interesting thing.
Man, it is really interesting, though. It looks almost like World War II out there. Ебать. Ебать.
Слышу.
Слышу.
На хату летит, прикинь. Да ебать, да сбейте его нахуй. Охуеть. Ебать.
Oh, we can hear it.
Это дрон.
Oh. I've seen that clip, but now moving on from that and into our next little bit of news about it, we also got to see some nearby security camera footage. Now, this was interesting. We can see a Russian here standing in frame as we start to hear the drone in the distance. Oh! Oh, and he hit the ground! The car alarm's going off.
It reminded me of like the footage or something, you know, when the nuke like shockwave hit somebody.
Man, I don't know what happened to your mic, but you were quiet as a mouse at this point. But we can see the explosion. We can see the fella down on the ground.
Is it better now?
Let's see. Talk for a second.
Is it better now? Is it better now?
It is much better. I don't know what happened to your microphone, dude, but it literally sounded like this. The second ago, you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's really good," and then it went to, "Yeah, that's really good, man. Wow, look at that explosion. It's like he fell on the ground." I was like, "Dude, what happened to him?" I was like,
You see that guy who fell on the ground right there? Oh my god, it looks like he hit his head too. Oh man. Oh, he's not dropping that cigarette though. Like he just lit up.
dude, this man right here, this man would make a great boxer, man, because he could be knocked out and his hand would still be putting that cigarette back in his mouth. Respect right there. See him now standing back up and recollect himself, also turning off the car alarm. And the clip ends there, but still showing us a little bit of the last night's attack at that airfield. Moving on from that, though, we also got to see that Russian anti-drone operations are continuing outside of Sevastopol. As we were able to see the Russians were still trying to engage and knock out Ukrainian naval drones outside of Sevastopol.
Also, by the way, I know a lot of people don't care at this point, but I gotta say it. That Katie girl just whooped that ass on that other girl on that boxing match right now, like really badly. The other girl got messed up.
I think she's known for that, like just messing folks up. And we can see here another Ukrainian drone that's being targeted by the Russians. From what we know, really no Ukrainian naval drones are making it through the Sevastopol defenses at this point, but the Ukrainians still give it a try because if even one of them makes it through, the damage is pretty significant for the amount of money that they're putting into these attempted attacks, which is literally nothing. Each of those drones costs about 50 grand, and the Russians have at stake ships that are worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in some instances. And we can see here another drone that's being engaged by the Russians. And now you can see the watermark here. I don't know what's up with that watermark. It looks AI made, but moving on from that and out of that clip, out of Sevastopol, we are now going to be moving up into the Kursk front, as we were able to see that a Rochelle senator was once again damaged and knocked out today. This is nothing new and honestly nothing surprising. The Rochelle Senator is a Canadian-made armored car, and while it is great to see that the Canadians are contributing their own armored cars into the conflict, if anyone knows anything about the Rochelle Senators were actually not made for frontline fighting and are only rated to be able to resist generally targets that would be directed at a VIP person that is traveling inside of a country, not in the middle of a war zone. For this reason, the Rochelle Senator has been mired with a bit of controversy, especially since this information was found here on this channel, and that these vehicles were simply not supposed to be designed to face frontline fighting conditions, being hit by RPGs or ATGMs for that matter. And so, because of that, I have to say it's very concerning to see that these things are still being used on the front lines in Ukraine, and hopefully they're withdrawn very soon. Meanwhile, we also got to hear a pretty wild story from a Russian soldier that surrendered to the Ukrainians about the North Koreans and the amount of training that they have. So here's the clip, and I'm also going to be reading the subtitles as well. Koreans, when they were trained, one of them couldn't even shoot a grenade launcher. Shot it at his feet. I think several Koreans died. Well, they say they'll still be trained in Voronezh, and they'll probably come here. That's all. And wow, look at that unibrow. This man must be Leonid Brezhnev's grandson. But beyond that, it is something interesting to note that this guy is saying that the North Koreans aren't even there yet. We're hearing from the Ukrainians and the US intelligence that they are, but this guy is saying that they're still being trained in Voronezh over here, and then they're going to be transported into the Kursk Oblast, where they'll finally be in frontline service. We've seen some things that actually indicate they're already on the front lines. The picture's really confusing. At this point, the North Koreans are Schrodinger's Koreans. We don't really know where they are. They could be in Voronezh, they could be in Kursk. We're not entirely sure. But moving on out of that and into our next bit of news, we were also able to see a Ukrainian Gepard in central Ukraine right here. And oh, look at that thing. Aren't these things neat with those dual 35mm Orlikons? They are just amazing little vehicles. I love them. They're great. Most of them, well, all of them were actually provided by the Germans. Ammunition provided by the Swiss through a very weird arrangement with the Germans. But moving on from that and into the location unknowns, we also got to see a Danish-funded Bodana in service. Now, it isn't a pissing contest, but it is interesting to see that a Danish SPG, the funded SPG, is out there near the front. Get him, buddy. Get him. And moving on from that and into our next...
Danish. Man, it's like just like having breakfast or something.
Man, I'm telling you, man, like, there ain't nothing better than a Danish with cream cheese. Those are pretty good. Or cherry. That's also a pretty good one. But we also got to see the final test of Ukrainian heavy drone bomber. And this thing is big. It's like a Baba Yaga.
I think it's huge, man. It looks like an agricultural drone.
Man, that sounds really Soviet of you to say something like that. Man, that thing's big. It's like agricultural or something. That's like, man, that sounds commie. I'm just kidding, by the way.
Hey, whoa, Jack. I'm not a commie.
You're not no commie. You're not no red. Better dead than red. But moving on from that and into the next clip, we also got to see a DITA SPG in service. From what we understand, these are actually provided by the Czechs. And from what we understand, this thing will also be giving checkmates out to the Russians. And not Czechs that are friends, checkmates. But we can see it being transported here inside of Ukraine, and it should be in service fairly soon. Still a very nice SPG, updated to a modern Western standard, and hopefully this thing will be quite effective out there on the front lines, as we do believe that the shoot and scoot will be wildly effective. But moving on from that, we also got to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours. And holy moly!
Oh my God. 16 Bobcats. It's tied with several others as the 10th highest loss. I'm telling you what, that's very tremendous to see. Sadly, though, it looks like some other numbers are going down, but it's still, they're very high. But Enforcer, tell us more.
I gotta tell you, man, these numbers are insanely high. 1,520 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 21 APCs, 77 supply trucks, 11 main battle tanks, 20 artillery pieces, 34 drones, 1 cruise missile, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, almost bringing that number up to a grand, a nice smooth grand, and then 16 Bobcat skid steers. According to Miss Disa, the keeper of the records, 1,520 personnel is tied as the 12th highest troop loss in the entirety of the war, tied with May 16th of 2024. At 16 Bobcat skid steers being destroyed is tied with several other days as the 10th highest daily loss on record. A very interesting thing to note, and once again showing that the Ukrainian defenses are holding up quite well. Moving on from that and past the Vovchansk areas, we really didn't get any video or picture evidence to document that area. We are now going to be moving on into the area of Sinkivka, and we were able to see in this area that they were able to hit some Russian Federation forces with the Khan group. And we can see here the Russians actually crawling out of their holes, their bunkers, in the openings below. And moving on out into the open, where the Korn group will receive them.
Looks like that fellow chose the good way to go. That is by surrender. Oh, look at that clown show happening out there outside the gate.
Actually, that was the Ukrainians processing them. Oh, one hell of a Ringling Brothers circus right there. Well, you see them processing them on the street as the Korn group films. And we'd also see the Korn group now obliterating the Russian positions that didn't go that way.
You know, it seemed like it'd be pretty easy for the Russians to realize that if your own comrades are willing to shoot you, if you decide to go back and, you know, not go sacrifice yourself on the battlefield, it might be better just to take your chances and surrender and see what happens. Or at least, you know, if I was on their side, I'd be doing that.
I would be doing that as well. It doesn't seem smart to not surrender, because usually the Russians just get wiped out by an FPV drone if they don't, if they're seen at that point. And so moving on from that into our next clip, we also get to see the 14th Brigade hammering some Russian forces just south of Kupiansk.
Also, Adam McLean said, if you could just put the Tyson fight in the bottom right corner of the screen, it would mean the absolute world to me right now. Well, if we did that, I'm telling you what, I guarantee you Netflix probably has a team of people scouring YouTube right now for those streams, like taking that stream, putting it here on YouTube. Sadly, we cannot do that. Like, trust me, I would love to put it on the screen and look at it, but they would copyright us into oblivion for that, like, badly. Like, so quick, it would make our head spin.
Adam McLean, you don't understand. Netflix, They got an organized group of people. These people will come down to where we are right now, in person, with baseball bats, and they knock our kneecaps out. Like, if we did that, they would not allow that, because they would be saying that we're violating their copyrighted material, and legally, we actually would be. And so with that, moving on from that clip from the 14th Brigade, we are now moving further on down and towards the Seversk battlefield, where we got to see the 33rd Brigade preparing to fire a heavier mortar, a 120mm mortar, in fact, out of the back of this vehicle. And we're going to be muting that, but we can see the mortar being deployed out of the back of the vehicle.
And also, someone just told me that apparently the hot dog man is streaming the fight on Discord. Well, you know, he's no stranger to breaking rules and violating copyright, so, you know, that's just status quo for him. He does it all the time. He's gotten in trouble for it several times, so I'm not shocked.
Man, that would be unfortunate if Netflix heard about that somehow. That would be terrible. Real shame, as a matter of fact, that would be uncovered and told. Maybe I don't know, Matthew. Maybe someone needs to know about that, because I'm sure that Discord wouldn't like to know that someone's violating copyright on their platform. That'd be terrible.
If it's proven true, I think they would like to know.
I think they'd want to know. I think they would. But anyways, moving on from that, now the Seversk area, we also got to see the Ukrainians, the Azov medics working in Chasiv Yar. Huge shout out to United 24 for providing this footage. Is that a freaking ad?
That's an ad on Reddit?
That's actually a YouTube video on Reddit, but I have YouTube Premium. Hold up. Let me check this really quickly. Hold up. Yeah, I got Premium, so why in the world are they showing me an ad? Because I'm paying for Premium. So let me take this off screen so that way we do not play a free ad, and let me just skip through that really quickly. Hang on, everyone. Just hang tight. Okay. So now that we're through that trashy ad, which is really stupid because I have YouTube Premium, we are now going to be getting back to the clip. And this is a very interesting video showing how the Azov medics are working in multiple different areas of the front to save Ukrainian soldiers' lives from some interesting wounds. We will, of course, be watching the video very carefully, but it was not age restricted, and it appears to be completely safe to show. It's just showing medical operations of the Azov unit, nothing incredibly gory or anything that's really tough to see, so it should be safe to show. So without further ado, here's the clip.
You know, our soldiers are a special group of guys and girls. And unfortunately, some of them come back. Sometimes 2 or even 3 times.
My name is Olia, and I'm a medic with the 12th Special Operations Azov Brigade. I work at the stabilization point. We have 3 operating tables here, designed for red and yellow patients. These include any shrapnel wounds and also critical cases, like amputations and other injuries. We use this magnet to extract fragments. This allows us to remove surface-level ones. We also have special attachments, narrow and wide, which can help to extract smaller fragments that are stuck in deep tissue.
Ось можемо підтягувати, наприклад, якісь дрібні осколки з глибоких м'язів. Також у нас є кров.
We also have blood supplies. Honestly, this is something we are very proud of because blood saves lives.
Ми вчора здавали кров.
Yesterday, we all donated blood. We had a critically wounded fighter, and after stabilizing him, we went together to donate blood for him. It was 1 a.m., but this was a matter of life and death. So the decision was made quickly, and we went.
Дуже швидко вирішено, просто поїхали. В нас була ситуація.
One time, one of our recon soldiers was in a severe shock. He wasn't talking or responding to pain. After receiving just 1 unit of blood, he started to speak and respond. This was probably in March, and I recently saw this guy again. He came by our stabilization point with someone, and I was like, I remember you.
Я така, типу, я тебе бачила.
During our brief tour, medics receive a message that a successful evacuation has taken place, and soon, one by one, the operating tables are filled with wounded soldiers.
Здесь ничего не подтекало. Сейчас я...
Tonight we are on duty with the medics of the Azov Brigade at the stabilization point. This is basically the first room where the fighters are being evacuated from the front line, and right now the room behind me is packed with wounded soldiers. This stabilization point receives fighters from Torres area and from Chasiv. And just for you to understand, one of the soldiers had his tourniquet on his leg for more than 30 hours because of how difficult it is to evacuate fighters from the front line at the moment. So I guess it says it all.
Once a soldier is wounded, they typically go through the following chain of evacuation: case evac and or medevac, stabilization point, hospital. In this chain, the purpose of this particular place is to stabilize the patient's vital functions for further evacuation to the next stage. As you may have noticed, medics categorize fighters by color according to the severity of their injuries: green, yellow, red.
Our very first soldier tonight on the table was green. It was a glancing wound to the buttock and he could move on his own. He wasn't really bothered by anything, just a mild headache. The second soldier on the first table was light yellow. He had shrapnel injuries to his limbs, but was also stable. There was also a leg injury, which meant he couldn't move independently. There was a fracture. But he was talking, drinking water, and interacting with us.
I'm helping him to write to his loved ones to say everything's okay. Everything's okay. Just some gas exposure. But the main thing is, I'm all right. Sending love.
The soldier on the second table was red because he had a tourniquet on for a very long time. He had tourniquet syndrome, was dynamically unstable, and had multiple shrapnel wounds in his limbs. He was also hypothermic.
With a high degree of probability, nearly 100% yes. The next step is to perform all the diagnostic procedures, and then the medical team will make the final decision on whether to amputate.
The soldier on the third table initially appeared green. No obvious injuries were visible. After examining him and conducting an ultrasound, we discovered internal organ damage, moving him closer to the red category, even though you wouldn't know it by looking at him.
When I arrived, FPVs were hitting our position, dropping bombs, and then gas was dropped on us too. We were already injured, and were helping each other when they hit us with the gas. It was something very strong, stronger than anything before. You know, our soldiers are a special group of guys and girls. These are people who are ready to return to service. Some of them right from here, and unfortunately, some of them come back, sometimes 2 or even 3 times. The hardest part is losing them. A tough shift isn't so bad. You catch up on sleep and you're fine. But losing someone, whether it's during your stage or on any other, knowing that it shouldn't have happened, that's the hardest part.
Seeing the
man, those medics have it tough, man. Those guys are lifesavers, but I'm sure that takes a toll mentally. like seeing that type of you know, really, really bad injuries like that on a daily basis, that's got to be a rough one.
Oh yeah, it's tough for them. It's really tough for really any medics or any first responders actually that have to deal with this in America. I've talked to some of them, and they always talk about this sort of stuff. You see it a lot, really, out there all the time, and there is certainly no absence of that in Ukraine due to the war. It's a very unfortunate thing. But moving on from that and down into the area of Orlivka, we were able to see a very interesting situation happening in Toretsk at the moment, as the Russians appear to be saying that things are not going well in the Toretsk battlefield. This is how we work. Slowly effing working somehow. Three days in a row, we're clearing 4 effing streets, many lads have been killed, loads of wounded, even more of the effing dead. Mother effing, I don't know, now just effing 4 of us left. Where's the rest? I have no effing clue. In any case, greetings. I'm alive and well. Everything will be alright, you know it. And then he pans back, shows the other 2 guys, and the video ends. But still, it doesn't sound like things are going that well on the Russian side in Toretsk. Meanwhile, we also got to see a Ukrainian combat helicopter in Mi-8 in operations around the area as well. And we were able to see this absolutely sick clip.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What the hell? Why did Twitter upload that? I'm okay, just as a disclaimer, folks. Like, I constantly scour the news to make sure we're not missing anything, like on the Ukraine and also Israel front throughout the stream. I don't know what the hell I just watched. Apparently, Mike Tyson just walked through the locker room with his ass showing. I don't even know why the hell somebody would upload that. What the hell did I just watch?
Huh. Well, I haven't seen that. That's interesting to hear. But in the meantime, we do have this very interesting combat helicopter footage to watch, and boy, howdy, is it interesting. Look at him go.
Dear Lord, what the hell did I just watch?
Man, I don't know, but you proved the hypothesis, man. You cracked the code.
Oh my god.
Barry Woodward said Hot Dog Man is happy. Oh, you know it. He's like, oh, yay, this was worth it. Like, or something like that. We've seen many things in this war. I think that one actually traumatized Matthew. He's gone dead silent now. But moving on from that.
Man, that was a doozy, man. I was just scrolling through and I saw that. I was like, what the hell? Like, I felt like the Hot Dog Man for a minute. I stared and I was like, what the hell? I was like, that's actually what I think it is. Like, get off of that quick. What the hell?
Man, Matthew literally went, brother, brother, oh man. But moving on from that, we also got to see a grad being destroyed. Actually, 2 grads being destroyed by a HIMARS today as well.
Ёбаный в рот. Сейчас покажу, что нахуй от него, блядь, осталось. Выгорело нахуй, все. Деревьев нету, совсем нихуя. Ёбнул пакет полный. Просто пиздец. Блядь, глянь, что, блядь, осталось. Ёбаный в рот. Лес густой был, блядь. Это пиздос. Ёпта, до сих пор сейчас леет, нахуй. Ёпта, глянь, деревья поповалило какие. Ебать тулюсь, нахуй. Глянь. Пакет въебал. Пиздец. Вот что осталось от моего града, блядь. Глянь, ёб, стволы поповалило, нахуй. Тут ебать по маху им сдул. Ёбаный в рот. Так нахуй.
We see him eventually getting up through the destroyed trees to the grads, which are out here in the open. And we can see one of them destroyed over there, and the other near the tree line also destroyed as well.
Вон ямка, глянь какая. Вон мост нахуй. Зарытый, блядь. А вот от БМки что осталось. Кусок нахуй. Ёпта. Пиздец. Ебало, вон раскиданы мосты. Если вот кусок металлолома нахуй.
And that's the end of the clip right there. Still, nice to see that the HIMARS was able to knock out 2 grads, and once again showing us that the Ukrainian artillery, specifically the American-provided missile artillery, is doing incredibly well. Moving on from that, we also got to see that they were pulling an Abrams off the field today after it sustained some combat damage. It appears that something may have hit the upper front glacis, or the upper front cheek of the main turret, but we can see the Ukrainians' recovery vehicles pulling it off of the field.
Мы его привезем по назначению.
It looks like it's held up fairly well, actually, but that was the end of the clip. Still showing us, though, that Abrams are in operation near the Pokrovsk front. Meanwhile, we also got to see some very interesting clips from the Ukrainian FPV drone units, like the Muramasa, that is in the area of Pokrovsk at the moment as well, slamming Russian forces and making sure that they do not advance any farther. We see him slamming down right there into a bus buhanka. Never seen that one before. That's a new one.
A bus buhanka.
And we see another FPV drone coming in and slamming down into this other buhanka. It looks like someone was actually trying to get out of that one. And that's the end of the clip, but still, nice to see the actions of the Muramasa unit. Moving on from that and into our next clip further down the lines and in the area around Marinka, we were able to see Ukrainian Leopard 4 also holding down the line and once again firing at Russian positions, attempting to stop the Russians from advancing any closer to Kharkov. And we can see the Leopard 2 firing right here. Really impressive stuff. Right at the Russian positions in front of it. And also, Matthew, I saw in the live chat you said you need some help. Are you okay, Matthew? Was that really bad what you saw on like the whole Mike Tyson side of things?
Man, it was rough. I might need some counseling because of results. And also, by the way, like on a serious note, real quick, while I'm looking at it right here, it looks like a shout out to Tony Alameda, by the way. He did throw in that $100 donation, but I don't think that came through to our PayPal. So I just want to give a notice there. Like, do not send anything to that email address that was put in the chat there to contact me, because apparently it did not work and it did not come through for some reason, and I'm not sure why. So I'd have to look into it later to see why that's happening.
Interesting. And with that, we are now going to be moving on from that clip showing the 33rd Brigade holding that area of the line down. And we are now going to be moving on into seeing some Russians, well, actually, the Russians trying to hit some Leopards in the area, which are pretty much the same ones we just saw in operation. We were able to see one of them gets hit right here by a Lancet. Now you see the smoke rising off of the Leopard 2, but we are going to try and note if there was any visible damage or an abandonment of the vehicle that would show that it was destroyed on the field. And from what we can tell, it doesn't really look like it's being abandoned. It almost looks like it's just sitting there. It looks like no crew is left. And then the video cuts to another one. From what we can tell, and I want to make this very clear, it does not look like the Leopard 2 was knocked out of action. We didn't see it brewing up or catching on fire, and we didn't see any crew abandoning the tank. And so for that reason, we believe that that tank is still operational. In the next clip, we can see another Russian drone trying to target another Leopard 2 near to the area of Kharkov. Also, Matthew, has the fight started yet?
No, I was looking over there, glancing at it real quick, and it looks like they got the commentators over there trying to fill time. It looks like he's probably coming out at 11. I would take a stab at that.
Yeah, I would assume so. Probably so that way they had enough time to get all the other fights out of the way. Depending on if they drug out for a long time or not, it was probably like scheduled, blocked off for 11, moving on. But we could see a Lancet actually missed that Leopard 2 right there, and it's still continuing to roll on forward, pretty much unfazed. We see the Leopard 2 coming to a stop right here. And the tank is sitting there. Now, that's a very important thing to note, that the tank is just sitting there, because from what we can tell, the Leopard 2 was perfectly fine. The crew did not abandon the vehicle. There's no smoke or any fires coming off of the Leopard 2. It appears that that Lancet didn't even cause a severe hit. And the whole reason why I wanted to show this video is because the Russians make it sound like they destroyed these tanks, but there is no visible evidence of the tanks being completely destroyed or even abandoned, for that matter, by the Ukrainians. And so for this reason, it does appear that the Leopard 2s of the 33rd Mechanized Brigade are still in action in the area around Kharkov even at the moment. But moving on from that and all the way down to Kherson, we were also able to see see some GBU-39s provided by the United States and used by the 114th Tactical Aviation Brigade being used in the area of the southern bank of the Dnipro, which we were able to see right here near Oleski. And we can see here the GBUs being lined up and slamming into the Russian positions. But the boom, chicka chicka baby.
Absolutely slamming.
Oh, holy moly.
Is that the command post?
No. That ain't no command post. I'm fairly sure. Let me check the caption again. Let's see. Oh, it is the Russian command. I'm blind. I'm so sorry.
Hey, it is the command post, man. I was about to say, this looks like the command post right here. Those Russians are getting smoked like brisket.
Man, I so goofy, but they got it. They destroyed it. And that's the end of the clip right there, but very nice to see. Meanwhile, we also got to see in one of the drone attacks last night, anti-aircraft fire over the area of Odessa. Y'all want to see it? Of course y'all do. Here's the clip. It's like World War II out here.
Jeez, man, that's crazy. That's a lot of tracer.
Yeah. There's some really big anti-aircraft guns out there, too.
Kind of like that.
I'm not gonna lie, it's actually a vibe.
A vibe. Those Russian drones, I'm sure, are a little bit nervous as a result of all this tracer fire.
Man,
I'm going to tell you all this, folks. Not to get off topic, but that Jake Paul's looking nervous as hell. Like, he's looking scared. Like, that look on his face right now.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. I have a feeling it's going to be a slam down to here coming around the corner, man. I'm not going to lie. Because did you see this, Matthew, before we get to the speech from Zelensky, which... Actually, you know what? Let's get to the speech from President Zelensky, and then we'll carry this conversation on after that, so that way we can make sure to at least knock this out beforehand. So, without further ado... Wait a minute. Hold up. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know this move. You know your judo well. Good one. Let me go to YouTube, and let me go see if I can find the speech that he made today. If he didn't, we know he's traveling. So, let me see here. President of Ukraine. All right, so... There we go. The office of the president of Ukraine. Great news. And oh my goodness, Matthew, we might be in luck. We might be in luck, Matthew. There is a 26-minute long speech that Zelensky has made today. And it's a great fortune, you know? It's incredibly great fortune because it appears that the fight might be happening soon. And it might be a one-round knockout. You never know, Matthew. You never know. And so...
Are you sure you want to play the 26-minute long speech?
Well, we got to play some of it at least, because we always have to have the speech from Zelensky. So, I don't know. What's y'all's take in the live chat? We'll take an answer from the live chat tonight, considering it's a little bit more of a relaxed night. What do y'all think? Do y'all want to have a 24-minute speech, or do y'all want us to cut it down to maybe 9 minutes or so, and then just keep the broadcast running as usual? So let us know. I'm going to be waiting for y'all to give us a little bit of input there, because either one's fine with me. If we play the 24-minute speech, it actually gives us a chance to watch, hopefully, Mike Tyson just knock Jake Paul out in one round or in the first minute, which means that we can get right back to streaming, or we can play the 9 minutes and then I'll just watch the highlights tomorrow and see what happened. Either way, it's no big deal to me, and I see a lot of people going for 9 minutes. It seems as though most people are going for the whole 9-minute side of things instead of the full 9 yards. So we're going to do 9 minutes instead. So let me get the speech up.
President Zelensky.
And also, Enforcer, like, I'll just say this as well, because it looks like a lot of people are trying to, like, hear what's going on in that fight. And I'm not going to, like, fool myself. Like, people are going to start watching that fight a lot when it comes on here in just a second. So when we're still on the air here, like, if there's updates on it, I will say the updates, because tonight is a little bit of a relaxed night. Not everybody's here tonight because of that fight. So I'll just call off what's happening when we hear it as we answer the questions after the speech is over.
All right, and so with that, we actually do have the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky today, and it's a bit of a long one. So let me see here if we can get the subtitles in English. Let's see. Hopefully it's not one of those weird overdub dub things, you know, like that is really difficult to understand. Why did they not have English as an option? Oh, it's already on English. Okay, heavens. Anyways, wait a minute, look. It says, oh, wait, okay, we're good. Okay.
I would like speech, please. Speech.
Without further ado, here is a long-lasting speech.
Speech.
Thank you so much for being here. The floor is yours.
Президенте Зеленський, дуже дякуємо, що доєдналися.
Oh no, Matthew, it's one of those goofy things where he's speaking in English, but it's a Ukrainian dub with an English subtitle. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Matthew, please find us this thing, but in without a dub, because it has to be out there. It's not on the President of Ukraine's website, but we have to find it. Like, I'm not going to accept this dog water.
Zelensky always takes a dub. Zelensky always takes a dub. But let me see here. Zelensky speech for November 15th. Let's see. Oh, no, that is not Zelensky. Let's see. Zelensky's speech, November the 15th. So I am not seeing his speech from today. I'm doing a quick search here on YouTube. Do you have the title of this? Let's see here. Oh, it's in Ukrainian. Let's see. Zelensky. Is he addressing? Who's he addressing here? Do you know?
Let's see here. The entire title is in Ukrainian. Let me see if I can understand any of it. President Zelensky, and then I don't understand the rest of it. So, unfortunately, Matthew, I don't really know. But it is from today, 9 hours ago, and it appears to be some sort of an address to a large forum of people that were on a Zoom call of a sort. So, if you can find,
you see the flags in the other Zoom call videos right there? Can you see it in there? Like, I just need to know like who he's speaking to.
This is what it looks like.
Okay, he's speaking to mothers and families.
There's
something like that.
There's a wine cellar, a small school campus. There's also this building right here, which looks like the White House Situation Room, a small home theater, and then finally a church in the bottom left. So it looks like a very interesting selection. So if you can find something that looks like that, we will be able to get this immediately. I mean, immediately, my boy, my son, my bubble boy.
So I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting here searching every different type of search I can do, and I'm not seeing anything. So I don't think I'm going to be able to find it.
Dagnabbit. Let me go back. Hang on, y'all. Hang on. We got to fix for this. We got to fix. The fix is in, folks. All right, so we got a 2-minute speech instead. I'm very sad about this. I'm very saddened because I really needed to take care of some things in the background. Sadly, we will not be able to do that beyond the fight. So with that, here's the speech.
Шановні українці, українки, коротко про сьогодні. Продовжили працювати над пунктами нашого плану внутрішньої стійкості. Сьогодні 2 фундаментальні пункти – фронт та людський капітал. Все, що стосується нашого захисту, і все, що стосується наших людей. І військових, і цивільних, і дорослих, і дітей. Мета очевидна – це захист від російської агресії зараз і все, що ми повинні зробити для того, щоб не програти післявоєнний мир. Щоб зберегти і зміцнити наш народ і державу. І народ. І це обов'язково. Продовжив нашу міжнародну роботу сьогодні, неформальну дипломатію, поспілкувався зі студентами університетів в Латинській Америці. Люди в усіх частинах світу мають однаково розуміти, що потрібно зараз, щоб повернути спокій міжнародним відносинам. І ще одне про одну із сьогоднішніх новин. Канцлер Шольц казав мені, що збирається подзвонити Путіну. Дзвінок Олафа, на мою думку, це скринька Пандори. Тепер можуть бути і інші розмови, інші дзвінки, просто багато слів. І це саме те, що Путін давно хоче. Йому вкрай важливо послабити його ізоляцію. Ізоляцію Росії. І вести перемовини, як звичайні перемовини, які не будуть нічим завершуватись. Так, як він десятиліттями робив. Це давало можливість Росії нічого не змінювати в своїй політиці, нічого не робити по суті. І якраз це і призвело до цієї війни. Розуміємо всі ці виклики зараз, знаємо, як діяти. І хочемо попередити, Мінська-3 не буде. Нам потрібен реальний мир. Слава Україні!
And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky. As it sounds like he's getting a little unhappy with Schultz, but nevertheless, that is the end of that speech. And it is time for us to move on into the second segment of this stream, where we get to talk to each and every single one of y'all. And boy, howdy, is it a fun segment. Now, many people are not here tonight, I will say that, and many people are watching what is being called the fight of the century, although I'd say it's really the fight of this month. But beyond that, it is going to be very interesting, that's for sure, and we are going to be waiting to see what's happening. I'm hearing, Matthew, that Jake Paul is looking very, very scared, and is that true?
Jake Paul was looking scared back there in the back locker room area. He looked like maybe reality was setting in. And I know people were saying this fight might be staged. I don't really know. Like, it could be, possibly, but I'm going to wait and see. If it ends up being a little bit fishy looking, then I might agree with you. But we'll have to wait and see here. But it's about to start here probably in about 7 or 8 minutes.
And just to let y'all know, I want to give y'all a little special treat because all of y'all are absolute champions, and we thank y'all for being here tonight. I'm actually going to get a Netflix account, and we're going to watch the Mike Tyson fight right here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Whoa,
Please, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. I'm just kidding. We're not going to be able to do that because that would be massive copyright infringement, and YouTube it will not be happy about that, especially tonight of all nights. But still, with that, Matthew, let us get into the last question that we've asked everyone tonight, because I understand that Russian oil facilities are beginning to shut down as major financial collapse is looming. And a lot of people are putting in their thoughts, and a lot of people are thinking that a Russian economic collapse is highly likely. And what are people thinking about that, Matthew? And what are you thinking about that as well?
So a whopping 58% of the audience said Russia's collapse is highly likely with their really pitiful economy, while 24% said the collapse is a possibility and not a certainty, and 11% said Russia is simply having some bad days. And they were having bad days. That's for certain. Like, no doubt about that. They're having some rough days. But I think that the Russian collapse is certainly a possibility because we're seeing the bond market collapse in Russia. We're also seeing several major property developers also go under. The mortgage rates are at 28%, and the ruble, 100 rubles equals $1. It just reached that today at a new record. And also, we are, of course, seeing the oil facilities shut down one by one. So if you can call that a collapse if you want, it's looking pretty rough, I must say. I'm with the 24%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I'm with the 58%. I think the Russian economic collapse is highly likely. It's been going down that track for a while at this point, and I think at this moment we're starting to watch those final moments. We've been saying that for a bit now, though, but we are probably watching those final moments leading up to the moment of Russian economic collapse. Who knows when it will come? I think that it's highly possible, highly likely at this point, but highly likely as in when, I'm not really sure. But still, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, Matthew, I understand that we have some of the bussin' questions of the night tonight. So what do we have, Matthew? What do we have?
All right, so just an update, by the way. I think that Paul fella is about to walk out in just a minute, so they're showing his video, trying to hype him up. So, apparently he'll be coming out in just a moment, so we'll see. But anyways, jumping right back into our super chats here, this one is going to go to Ari Sowini once again. He's throwing in a ton of support tonight, and huge shout out to you, Ari, for that very generous support. This is the third super chat of the night, and it's a 50, and thank you very much, Kiwi Wife and Finn. They stood for the Bug Assault Fund, and get one because it's great, and it's better than shooting real guns, especially inside.
And I would agree. I would agree with that. Let's see. Bug assault gun. I've heard of this thing before, and they are pretty cool. And so I will show one of them to y'all. You see that British gangster guy who says, "I'm not a gangster. My business is crime."
I'm a businessman.
Yeah, I'm a businessman, and my business is crime. He used this gun against his foes. This is the Bug assault gun. Now, a lot of people,
$125.
yes, but this thing, man, shoots little pellets of salt at extremely high velocities towards bugs, and it just wipes them out, man. This thing is a bug destroyer. It actually has a little CO2 canister inside of it, kind of like a BB gun of a sort. But these things are incredibly neat, and not only that, that British gangster, Matthew, who said, "I'm not a gangster, I'm a businessman, and my business is crime." He actually would use a shotgun against his folks that he was having issues with that wouldn't pay him and stuff. And he would fill up the shotgun shell, instead of with pellets, it would be with rock salt. Because rock salt dissolves when it comes into contact with water or blood, and it leaves no actual evidence of what the guy used for them to be able to track him down eventually. So that's an interesting little story about that criminal right there, if you knew that.
No, I actually didn't know that. That's very fascinating. Also, by the way, that Jake Paul fella is coming out right now with his sketchy brother on this truck with a pigeon in a cage on the back
They're
of
gonna
it.
sponsor Prime. Oh God!
Oh no!
Not Prime.
The guy's spraying his brother with deodorant like he stinks or something like that. I guess he's promoting his a little brand there or something.
Oh, buddy. You knew that was coming around. You knew that was coming around, dude. And before you know it, like Jake Paul's going to say something cringe, dude. He's going to be like, Mike Tyson's gonna die because he didn't drink the new lime-flavored Prime. Get yours today online for $5.99 or something like that. It's gonna be something like that in a minute, man. I would guarantee it because they don't go around without pushing something or peddling something. It's a guarantee. Or they'll have Lunchly out there, dude. What if they fed Mike Tyson a Lunchly and he ate the mold in it? Like that might actually throw the fight. You know what I mean?
It might, you never know. But this thing's just goofy, man. Like the way they're coming out with this, it's like goofy on steroids at this point.
Well, it is Netflix's first time hosting a boxing event. It's it's probably not going to be that good. But still, Gator North said Prime doesn't taste good at all. There's a hilarious meme out there about Prime, and it was someone who was blindfolded tasting the drinks. They're like, tastes like water. Tastes like Kool-Aid. And then they drank Prime and they said, ugh, tastes like pus. And then like that was the end of the video. It was the funniest video ever, like in my opinion, recently. And also I've never had a Prime, but everyone I know who's drank a Prime says that they're not good. Like I haven't heard a single person say anything good about a Prime. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Also, by the way, Fiuma, I just saw you in the chat. A huge thanks to you, by the way, for hopping in to the Space Marines 2 mission that I was playing yesterday. I think I was playing it in the middle of the day because there was supposed to be a midday video made and there was no news. So then I hopped on a game really quickly with one of my friends who was in the Space Force who was also not working at that moment. And we were playing like, I think a game. It was only one round. It was one game of Space Marines 2 and you hopped in and we actually needed help. We were actually about to start reaching out to other folks and asking them if they were on. So you actually helped us out greatly in that. Big thanks to you, by the way, because I just saw you in the chat and I was like, man, I got to thank you for that because like my friend was like, oh, who the hell is that? And I was like, oh, dude, that's like one of our viewers and he's here. Like he's friends with me. He's friended me on Steam. And he was like, oh, dude, that's lucky because we were getting beaten before that. And so thank you for showing up to that. But beyond that, though, I also have to say on top of that, a big thanks to you once again, Ari Sweeney. And maybe we will get a bug assault thing. I think it would be kind of cool to have. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here is going to go to Ari Sweeney yet again, even, who puts in a 30 this time. And huge shout out to you for, I believe it's like the 4th or 5th. Actually, it's the 4th super chat of the night. Huge shout out to you, Ari, for that. And seriously, we do appreciate it. They said, would Iran nuke Israel if it did have a nuke and a carrier, or would they have a high priority target?
Let me see. Let me reread that question really quickly so that way I can make sure to physically read it. Would Iran nuke Israel if it did have a nuke and a carrier, or would they have a higher priority target? No, as far as Iran is concerned, Israel is the highest priority target because it's not like, yes, the United States is a bigger fish, if you want to put it that way, but it's not really the fish that Iran's concerned with because Iran is concerned about regional affairs in the Middle East. So for them, the biggest fish to fry is the Israelis. So that would be largely their target, from what we would understand. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Very good question, by the way, Ari Sweeney, because technically, yes, America is the bigger fish to fry, and maybe they would use multiple nuclear weapons to deter the United States from doing anything against them, and also to further embolden themselves against the Israelis, considering that that's their #1 target. And so, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, Matthew, I understand. I'm hearing that Mike Tyson is walking out.
So apparently everybody's got a little bit of a faster stream than I do because he hasn't walked out just yet. They're playing that video like they did before the Paul fella, and apparently he's about to walk out in a minute. But I'm seeing some people saying he's looking a little bit crazy today, so apparently he's coming out a little bit wild.
Man, he's looking crazy. Man, hopefully that translates into him just slugging. Like, hopefully. I'm hoping it does, man. I'm hoping it does. A lot of people are saying that he's coming in and he's looking monstrous right now, so hopefully he's going to go off the chain here in a second. But with that, thank you once again for the massive support, Ari Sweeney. Also, thank you for supporting the channel incredibly tonight, because not a lot of people are here, and not a lot of people are supporting the channel tonight, and you're practically floating the entire stream at the moment. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, like I'm seeing him walking out right now, by the way. I'm not going to lie, like Mike Tyson is looking a little bit nervous himself, and understandably so, as the dude's kind of getting up there in age a little bit to be fighting a guy this young, even though Paul kind of sucks. He's still much younger. He's looking a bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, so I'll be interested to see how this is going to go. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat here, we have the one from Duncan VR with the animal noises, and he puts down a $28 donation, and thank you very much, Duncan, for that support. We appreciate it. He said, Bamuba, Baba, Moo. Enforcer, what sound does Inshallah, Mickey make when he gets jabbed? Ba Moo quack time for Enforcer's mild T voice. Meow. Oh man, the fly talking meow. Why does fly channel graph keep going down? 69 subs daily. Baba.
And I thank you so much for the support, Duncan VR, and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, Inshallah, Mickey makes this sound when he got stabbed. Like, no joke, that's the sound he made. Like, if you ever watched the episode, like, he was like, I will not submit to this Israeli. And the Israeli, like, hopped the desk and started stabbing him. And he went, he sounded like Mort from, like, Penguins of Madagascar, honestly. He was like, King John. I was like, what in the world? But that's what it sounds like. But still, thank you so much for throwing in the traditional animal noises and helping this channel to keep on running tonight, Duncan VR, because it would not be an LSA night if it wasn't for folks like you supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running. And I got to thank you so much once again, and I hope that addressed that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here is going to go to Robert McCann, who puts in a $25 donation, and thank you, Robert, as well, for that generous support. And he says, can Israel take out all of Iran's nuclear capabilities and support Ukraine and take one from the chat?
Hey, and thank you so much for supporting. A good question. Yes, hypothetically, Israel could take out all of Iran's nuclear research and development abilities practically overnight. But from what we understand, they hit a key facility. They didn't hit all of them, but still, it's going to be setting back the Iranian nuclear research program by a good deal. So that's what we are understanding at the moment. But hypothetically, if we were to say, could they hit all of them pretty much within the span of an hour or two? Yes, they could. That is entirely possible. The Israeli Air Force does have the abilities to do that. And also the Israeli missile forces also have the ability to do that as well. And we also know where most of those facilities currently are. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and a very good question right there. And with that, we are on to the next one. And long live the Lee Spring Army, by the way. And also, Matthew, do we have any more updates at the moment? Do you know any at all?
So right now they're showing the referee who's looking more nervous than the fighters at this point. The fighting has not started yet, but it's about to start here in just a second. And I'm very fascinated by this. I'm trying not to get totally distracted by it because obviously the stream comes first, but I'm very fascinated to see this because this is a very old fella, Mike Tyson. And even though he's an accomplished boxer, he's very old. And this other guy is very spry. He's jumping around and just going crazy over there in the corner. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. Hopefully this doesn't go bad for Tyson, or otherwise it's going to put a mark on his career.
Interesting. I'm not going to lie, man. I really want to go in there and see this right now. I really do, but we have to keep this thing rolling. I hate this, dude, because I don't have anything around me where I could even glance over and look at it right now. I'm literally in a black box, if y'all don't know at the moment. The floor is black, the walls are black, the roof is black. I'm literally like in this giant cube of darkness, so I don't really see anything. And so with that, we're on to the next one. That's all I could say about that, but we're on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to Waba, who puts in a $20 donation, and huge shout to you, Waba, for that support, and we appreciate it as always. And he says, nothing to see here, and move along.
And I suppose, I mean, I guess so. And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And we're moving on, I guess. I'm sorry. But still, thank you once again. I'm just kidding around, but thank you so much for the support and always being here with this channel. You've been an old guard. And it's always wonderful to have folks like you supporting the channel and helping us to keep this thing rolling. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and also they're about to start scrapping here in a minute. They are about to start scrapping. Also, Wubba said, "Move along, please." We did. Wubba did not want any addressing of the super chat hardly at all. But no seriously, though, Wubba, thank you very much once again. Always supporting the channel, and we appreciate it. Also, I'm taking a look here. I'm trying not to get distracted, but I tell you what, I'm like going full ADHD right now. Let's see. They're still just standing there. They're getting ready. I think they're calling out, making the announcements.
Well, everyone's saying right now that the fight started, and let's see. I'm seeing some people saying that Tyson is chasing Paul around the ring. Let's see here. Seeing some other people.
Hey, mine's delayed, man. Mine's delayed, and they're still standing there.
Get
it
up to speed. Get it up to speed, dude. Because everyone's saying that it's begun. And let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to see what people are saying because honestly, the chat's quicker than what's going on actually on our TV. So let's see. trying to see what's going on. Paul is hugging Tyson. That means his ears are going to be eaten. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to none other than GunFox61, also known as the Medic Fox, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, GunFox, as always, for the support. And he puts in the days in history and 2 different super chats here. He said, today in history in 1777, the Articles of Confederation were adopted by the Continental Congress. 1864, Sherman's March to the Sea begins in 1942. And apparently in 1942, an American fleet defeats a Japanese naval force in a clash off of Guadalcanal. And then in 1805, Meriwether Lewis, William and Clark, and also and their party reached the mouth of the Columbia River, completing their trek to the Pacific. And then in 1738, Sir William Herschel, British astronomer who discovered Uranus. A question from the chat.
And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also thank you for sharing all of that in a day in a history. It's very interesting today, everything that happened in history, because many people don't know it, but the U.S. actually had a government before we had a federal republic. We actually had a confederation, which is a country where most of the power is held by the states, and there's a very weak federal government. And that's what we had before 1787. And the Articles of Confederation was the defining document that set up that government system until 1787, when the Constitutional Convention was made, and then the U.S. officially became a federal republic. 1864, Sherman's March to the Sea, that's actually a little controversial, because a lot of people look at it as key to ending the Civil War, and it certainly was, because it split the Confederacy in two, but there was a decent amount of unnecessary damage and suffering that went along with that march that, for reasons in the South, has made it a generally unpopular thing. Also, it is cool to hear, though, that in 1942, this is the day that the United States started to absolutely stomp on the Imperial Japanese Navy and the Imperial Japanese Army, because this was Guadalcanal, or the at least very beginning of it, or actually I think this was close to the beginning of it. It was a little while in, because they were already inland at this point. But still, thank you so much for sharing all of that information. GunFox61, you are the guy who puts in the days in history, and we are always greatly appreciative of them and love to see them. And so, Matthew, what do we got from the chat?
All right, so from the chat here, our live chat question is going to go to, let's see here, it's going to go to Uncovered Cube, who said, do y'all contribute the higher troop losses to North Korean troops entering the combat zone in Russia?
I would say, let's see. Can you reread that one again, Matthew? Can you reread that one?
He said, do y'all contribute the higher troop losses to North Korean troops entering the combat zone in Russia?
I don't actually contribute it to that. I actually contributed to the Russians started full-blown offensives on practically all fronts at this point, and so there's a lot more active fighting for a lot more people to get wounded and killed in at this point. And that's what I'm largely contributing it to at the moment, and so that would be my opinion. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And a big shout out to you once again, GunFox61, for sponsoring that live chat question, and also sponsoring this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. And Matthew, what do we have on the fight right now before we move on to the next one?
All right, so I'm still watching, like Netflix's servers, I think, are getting overloaded because I'm still watching the first round, and people are saying that one's already over and the round 2's now over. But from the first round, what I'm seeing right here, it looks like Jake Paul's strategy is trying to wear the old man down, which is a lame strategy to have because obviously he's going to wear out quicker. He's older. So it looks like he's trying that lame trick. That was kind of expected, but it looks like Mike Tyson, for his age, is swinging with some power. Like, he's got some power behind those punches. He's moving fast, too. Like, for his age, he's moving very quick. But I think he's going to get tired. And this is a full 12 rounds, I think?
Yeah.
If it's 12 rounds, this is going to be rough for somebody his age. Like, he's probably going to wear out. But right now, it's looking like it's pretty close.
And I see a lot of people saying the second round is actually ended now. And a lot of people are saying that it looks like Tyson actually has the lead at the moment. It looks like Jake Paul is scared and really afraid to engage him, and that's why he's kind of running around the ring almost, and also probably trying to wear him out too, so that we can get in some jabs at the end. And so that's interesting to hear. That's interesting. And also everyone's saying, someone actually says, is this a 30-second round? Oh, no, wait a minute. It's only 8 rounds, Matthew. It's not 12.
Oh,
it's only 8.
That's only 4 less than 12, but still 8 rounds is a lot for somebody that's about 60 years old.
Yeah, that is, and I see a lot of people saying different things. I wonder how this is actually going to turn out tonight. I'll be interested to see. But still, with that, let's see. And a lot of people are talking about Netflix's servers lagging. Luckily, we do not run into that problem all too much anymore because we have everything connected to Ethernet. Right, Matthew?
Yes, we do. We have Ethernet now. Also, by the way, I just saw that Jake Paul just tagged Mike Tyson inside the face pretty badly. So he took it pretty well, but he tagged him good.
Interesting, interesting. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to a channel legend. It is Praise Adonai, who puts in a massive $50 donation. And thank you very much, Praise Adonai. And also, it's good to see you once again. You're a channel legend. They said, "Yeehaw!" And also, News Now is reporting the new peace plan for Ukraine will require the country boundaries to be frozen where they are. I don't agree. What says the enforcers? And I say this, on my part, they should not freeze the conflict where it is because Russia will simply restart this war and invasion once again once they are able to regroup and rebuild their forces and equipment, and that is not going to serve Ukraine whatsoever. So I'm not in favor of freezing the conflict. I think Ukraine should keep going all the way and make sure that they finish this thing out the right way with Europe's help, with the US's help, or someone's help, but keep going. Like, do not stop the war because that would be a mistake. But, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that in my opinion, I believe that it's not a good thing. I would not agree with that. I believe that the Ukrainians should get some land back, at least at a minimum, get back Kherson and Crimea, if anything, but I certainly do not agree with them leaving the borders as they are because Matthew has an exactly perfect point that the Ukrainians would just see that in a couple of years' time, the war will begin again, just like it did from in 2014 and 2022. It would happen again. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much once again for the massive amount of support, Praise Adonai, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But before we get on to the next one, I see a lot of people who are apparently in the future compared to us, Matthew, saying that Mike Tyson actually isn't looking that good at this point.
Somebody saying Tyson's done. Tyson is tired. Yeah, he's probably going to get tired pretty quick. I'm looking at the round 2 right here. I'll be honest with you, it's not looking that good for Tyson. I'll be honest with you. He's getting tired extremely quick. Everybody knew that was going to happen, though. That's why Jake Paul should fight somebody his own age because he got beat by the one guy that was actually a real boxer that was his own age. He got beat pretty badly. So, you know, it's just, it is kind of a gimmick. I'm not going to lie. It is.
And also, why doesn't he go and fight Alexander Usyk, who is currently the heavyweight champion of the world in the WBA? Why doesn't he go and fight someone like that if he really wants to make a name for himself? That would really make it his time if he won, but he'd get his ass beat. That's the truth. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can.
And also, the people streaming the fight on YouTube are getting suspended one by one, like their whole channel is getting deleted instantly. So that's why we didn't do that, because there apparently are teams of people going around. The Netflix servers really can't keep up with the traffic, but yet they have the teams of copyright lawyers running around, apparently taking these streams down, and they have the right to do that because it's their content and stuff like that. But you know, they're pretty vigilant about it.
Yeah, and also I now see a lot of people saying that the fight sucks. I'm not gonna lie, we kind of knew that was going to be the case, but if we had to root for anyone, we were going to root for Tyson because I would not root for Jake Paul. That's just my opinion. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I have a feeling, Matthew, that our stream viewership's about to start skyrocketing in the middle of the question segment, and everyone's going to be coming in going, "It sucked," and we're going to be like, "Oh, dang, they're angry." But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is also going to go to Gun Fox 61, the Medic Fox, once again. And they put in a 20 once more. And thank you very much, Gun Fox, as always, for that support. And they said, Enforcer, what battleship was the first to fire a Tomahawk missile? And what war did it happen? In 1909, M. Matrat takes off in a Voisin biplane from Algiers, making the first manned flight in Africa.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that little extra tidbit in history. But if I had to take a guess and say that a Tomahawk missile was fired, it would have had to have been during the Gulf War because we didn't have Tomahawk missiles, if I remember correctly, during Vietnam. So going off of that and knowing that all the battleships were refitted into their modern form, I think in the 80s and 90s, I would have to say, let me think. It's probably not the USS New Jersey. Is it the USS New Jersey? Maybe, maybe not. It really could. It is either the New Jersey or it's going to be the Missouri. That's what I'm guessing. And so let us see. Let me pull it up. What is the first Iowa class battleship to fire a Tomahawk? All right. The New Jersey. I got it right on the first try, Matthew. It was the New Jersey.
Hey, look at that, man. That's pretty good.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. Look at that. The New Jersey led battleships into the missile age, being the first warship to launch a Tomahawk cruise missile and the first to fire a Harpoon, the anti-ship version of the Tomahawk, and the Phalanx anti-missile gun, or the Sea-Wiz. But still, really cool. I can't believe I got that right. I put out 2 answers, though, so I feel like I was kind of rigging that, where I was going to have a 50-50 chance of probably getting that right. But still, it is the New Jersey. And who doesn't love New Jersey? Everyone loves New Jersey. Everyone works in sanitation in New Jersey. And it's something to be respected, New Jersey. But beyond that, one thing I really respect about New Jersey, you want to know what I really respect about New Jersey, Matthew?
What's that?
It's that they got New Jersey Transit. You ever seen New Jersey Transit? There it is right there. That's their paint job. I like it. It's respectable. And let me see if I can show you one of their trains, because I like them. I like their paint job. And let's see here. There we go. There's one of the cars right there. This is a very grainy picture, though. But you can kind of get an idea of what their trains and the cars look like in New Jersey. Because they got New Jersey Transit. And nothing is better than New Jersey. But beyond that, I do have to say, a big thanks to you once again for the support. I can't believe I got that right. And so thank you so much once again. And I feel really good about that. I feel great. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and moving on here to our next one, while Netflix totally craps out, and I can't even watch the fight anymore because Netflix is crapping out and won't let me back in to see it. So much for paying for that fight, because Netflix didn't set their servers up good or something like that, because I can't even see it. It looks like I'm not the only one either. Nobody can really see it hardly. At least I'm seeing in the live chat. So very interesting right there. Netflix kind of is blowing their first fight that they're hosting. But anyways, moving on here to our next one. This one goes to Marion Deemert, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Marion, as always, for that support. And of course, being a channel legend as well. Old guard, that is. And they said, you both rock, and thank you.
And thank you so much for the support and saying that we both rock, Marion Deemert. And thank you so much for enjoying this channel and supporting it and helping it to keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't have been able to make this thing possible for a very long time. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, because it's old guards and channel legends like you who have helped to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, so I finally got the fight back up here, so I can tell you, Enforcer, what I'm seeing. I'm seeing it live now, so round 5. Let's see. I'm trying to get a gist of what's going on here. Let's see. They're both actually looking extremely tired. Like, for that kid to be young, he's looking exhausted. But you know, the old man's looking tired too. So I don't know, man. It seems like it's not really much action as much people thought it was going to be. So let's see. They're about to go on round 6. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, so there's going to be no knockout?
Maybe not. No, Mike Tyson is dying over there in the corner. Like, he is breathing so hard, he's dying. Like, geez, this is why, like, it's not right to fight a 60-year-old like this. I mean, he's not even I don't even think he's, like, capable of, like, keeping this up for 8 rounds. It might kill him for it's over with, but oh, dang, Jake Paul tagged him in the face, like, a couple of times during that round. I think Tyson's getting beat, honestly. Like, I hate to say it, but I think he's getting beat.
Interesting here. I see a lot of people saying that apparently both of them are wearing out, but it does look like every once in a while each one of them is getting a jab on the other. Doesn't really sound like it's going well. Also, Uncovered Cube is put in a laughing emoji, say he's 58. Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's like, why in the world is this kid fighting a 58-year-old man? It's like, that's not even a fair fight in the offset. That's why we wanted Mike Tyson to win, because it's so unfair against his favor. It's pretty much made to where Jake Paul would either have to suck or he'd win. It's like, that is the dumb thing about it. I don't like that. And America always likes an underdog. Everyone knows that. But still, with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. It does appear that we missed absolutely nothing. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to be coming into the stream again tomorrow, Matthew, that were not here tonight, wildly disappointed that they were not watching our show and they were watching that instead. I hate that, though, because I was hoping it'd be something for folks to watch. But it sounds almost like we were expecting it to be, really, although we were still hoping that Mike Tyson would get a pretty good knockout in. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support, Marion Deemert, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here is going to go to Adam McLean, who puts in a $20 donation, and huge shout to you, Adam, for that $20 support. And of course, we appreciate it very much. He said, because Mike Tyson is an American hero.
And
Excuse me.
Mike Tyson is one of America's best heavyweight champions, and I thank you so much for the support, Adam McLean, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it was not for folks like you who helped to make this channel possible and helped us to keep this thing running, we wouldn't be able to say stuff like that here on air. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that this addressed that incredibly well, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to Tom Exman, who puts in a $10 donation, and huge shout out to Tom as well for that support. He said, let's super chat, and he said, take a live chat question for me.
And thank you so much for the support. And thank you for super chatting for a second. And we will make sure to take a live chat question for you, because that's what we do. That's what we do. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that this addressed that well. And Matthew, let's get one. What do we got? What do we got?
So this live chat question goes to David Tablet. He said, do we know what aspect of the Iranian nuclear program were addressed at the site in the strike by Israel?
Let's see here. Can you reread that one again?
Do we know what aspect of the Iranian nuclear program was addressed at the site, of course, where Israel struck?
Unfortunately, at the moment, we do not. That's why I had to take a second to think about it, because I was like, I don't really know. So I was like, I'll have Matthew read it again to think. We didn't hear exactly what part of the nuclear development program it was involved in, but it was involved in some part of it that, according to the defense officials, was key to the nuclear weapons program as a whole. That's all we know at the moment. We don't know much more than that. So I hope that addresses that the best we can. And I thank you so much for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to Gunfox61 yet again, who puts in a $5 donation this time. And a huge shout out to Gunfox for that support. He said, 1315 Swiss soldiers battled Austrians in the Battle of Morgarten.
And the Battle of Morgarten, that happened near the town of Morgarten, didn't it? I would assume. And it looks like it did. Where is this town? Where is it? And so it's here, south of Zurich, in the middle of the mountains. That's interesting here. There's actually a mountain here called Morgartenberg, so I guess that's where the battle happened. But beyond that, I thank you for sharing that. I actually have not heard of that battle before. That one falls out of the Imperial Archives, but I still thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And did y'all know that there's a train station here at Rothenthurm? Now, this is something that we can talk about, because there should be a picture of the train station and of the trains, and there it is. Swiss trains are really nice. Like, they're really, really nice. I've heard that they're a little pricey, though, but people like them a lot, for good reason, and also the scenery is great, too, on the trains. And so, you know, Swiss trains, not that bad. But anyways, let's see here. Ah, yes, we've already viewed that. And also, there's a Nordic short shop. I don't know what the hell that is. Oh, it's for skis and stuff. At the train station? That's actually kind of cool.
Nice store, by the way. It looks pretty clean.
Yeah, let's go look at the sewing shop. So, singing on, Kathleen. It's just a sewing shop, quite literally. Let's see here. See, I'm going to see the rest of this town now. I'm really interested in this thing. A B&B. A bread and breakfast, Matthew. It's a bread and breakfast. That's actually really nice, though. This place is looking... Wait a minute. A musical instrument store in this little building, and they build them.
Oh, look at that. They're building like a, what is that, a cello?
I think that's a cello. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Holy moly, they pump these things out. It's a legitimate workshop in this town. That is cool, really.
That's pretty clean. I like that. That's nice looking instruments, too. I bet those costed quite a bit.
Dude, but that is so cool. It's a literal cottage industry making cellos. That is really cool. And let's see, there's a uniform store over here. Let's see about... Oh, they don't have an interior view. Wow, this is really interesting, man. I'm not going to lie. Let's see here. I'm trying to find...
Damn, man. Just a real quick update on this fight right here. For some reason, there's brawls erupting across the stadium for whatever reason. I'm seeing videos on Twitter popping up of people squaring off with each other, like in the crowd. Like there's brawls breaking out all over the place, which is weird as hell. But we'll see here. I'm seeing people really get upset with the whole fight right here. I don't blame them. Like, really, like Mike Tyson looks like he's dying in the corner again. Like, you know, at that age, at 60 years old, he's got to be having some, like, maybe some heart issues or something like that. Like, he had some health problems. He had to call off the last fight. Is that a tattoo of Mao Zedong on his arm?
What? Wait, what?
Mike Tyson apparently has a tattoo of Mao Zedong on his arm. Very interesting.
Let me hang on, hold up here. Hold up. Let me go look at this. Let's see here. Holy moly, that is Mao. What are you doing, Mao? Like, what are you doing, Chairman Mao?
Interesting.
Oh, dude. I'm not.
But he's beating up an elderly man though on TV. It's not right. Like it's really not. Like, and what's he going to do at the end of it? Because he's probably going to win it. During round 8, by the way, so last round, Jake Paul's probably going to win the thing. He's going to be like, "Oh yeah, I finally tore up an old man." It's like that's nothing to be proud of at all.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it really is not. But you know he's going to be proud of it because they're the Paul brothers, and anything that they do, even as goofy as it is, they'll be proud of it. But beyond that, we also have this little department store here, Matthew, Vogue Rogentherm. And so there's no interior pictures. It looks kind of nice in there, though, but no interior pictures of this at all. But this is a really cool little town, actually. It's a tiny little town, but an incredibly cool one. And I have to say, I wish that we could go here one day. And thank you so much once again for sharing that interesting little tidbit of history with us, Gunfox61 from 1315. And now I'm glad that I didn't watch that fight. I'm glad that I was here instead because I would have rather been doing this anyways. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And moving on here to our next one. Also, can you still hear me though?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Everything started lagging on my screen for some reason. That's weird. But there's some crazy stuff happening right now in Dallas, apparently, because this fight's being held in Arlington, which is around Dallas. I just see like article here that apparently a bullet struck a plane at the Dallas Love Field Airport. So I don't know what's going on in Dallas right now, but it's kind of interesting. But anyways, moving on here, while everything on my screen is still lagging, we're going to get on to this next one, which goes to Neff, who puts in a $5 super chat. And thank you very much for that support. They said, what are the chances that Israel uses Iran's silence to bomb more facilities?
They probably might. We've heard that they're planning a second strike, but we really don't know how committed either side is at the moment to second strikes. It would let's see. Hold up. Jake Paul won by decision. Really?
No, they don't know that for a fact yet.
No, everyone's saying it. Everyone said that Jake Paul has won the fight. And they still might be ahead of us.
I'm not seeing it so far. Let's see here. I don't think the decision's come out yet. I think the fight's done, but I don't think the decision's out.
Let's see here. Wait a minute. I want to see if this is true. Let's see. Someone said yeah. Let's see. Brian actually said yeah. The only plane is it's crap. It's all over. Jake looks like crapola. He's got it. Oh no. Wow. Shitboxing. Waste of time. Boo! They had the Olympics in Sochi. Putin has mentioned there. That's true. People don't know how to effing act anymore in public. The real Big Mike is sleeping with. Oh, I don't know what that is. Crazy silly fight. Paul has won every round. Mike walks away with 20 million, and Jake less than half a milli. He won none hits. Jake Paul by decision. What? Boo! I'm back. Womp womp. The fight was 100% fake and made up. Have you guys heard of a game called Army of Two? If not, you guys should look into. I'll look into that one actually next day. Thank you. Jake will probably make a horrible rap song about it. Probably. Ingak said LOL. Daniel Turnell said spar session. Let's see. I'm seeing everyone saying that it is over, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying that. Oh, wait a minute. Everyone's saying they'll probably go Jake's way. So we don't know who's won yet for sure. Hopefully it's a tie. But anyways. With that, I hope that covers that fairly well. And also, Matthew, did we make sure to address that super chat? Can you reread the last one that we read just to make sure that we actually addressed it?
They said right here, what are the chances that Israel uses Iran's silence to bomb more facilities?
And we did address that. And I thank you so much for the support, Neff Anyo. I just want to make sure that we did give that proper justice and did address it. But it's still a huge thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one is going to go to JP on the road, who puts in a $5 donation, and thank you very much, JP, for that support. He said, why so harsh on the Rochelle senator? It's a war of Bahanka and Chinese side by side.
That's true, but the thing with the Rochelle is that the Rochelle was provided largely by Canada, and Canada said this is a MRAP that is frontline proven and safe, and it isn't. Even by their own ratings, it isn't. And so for that reason, that's why I'm not a big fan of it, because it just doesn't really stand up to punishment like other variants of MRAP do, like the Max Pro or the Cougar, or really any of them, the Wolfhound by the British, or I believe, let's see, the Dingo by the Australians, the Kirpi by the Turks. It just doesn't stand up at all compared to those, and that's why I'm not really a big fan of it. But still, I thank you so much for the support, and I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Bruce Lee, who puts in a 5, and thank you very much, Bruce Lee, as well for that support. He says, a bucket of salt fun for Marmot, get that fly, and pet the corgis and put on the intro when the fight starts. He said, Tyson, and we'll wait, LSA.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Bruce Lee. And I don't think we have to, because it sounds like the fight's over now, and it sounds like people were very unhappy with the results. I mean, incredibly unhappy with the results, apparently, because people are pissed. Apparently, Dallas is turning into a war zone. So much for your ambitions and aspirations, Matthew. Very unfortunate. It appears those will be on hold. But beyond that, I do have to say, very interesting stuff going on. And also, thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Neff, once again, who puts in a 5 Canadian and says, what are the chances that Russia uses small tactical nukes as losses mount, and what would be the NATO response?
I have a feeling, Neff, that the chances of Russia using small tactical nuclear weapons as the losses are mounting is largely unlikely. They've generally been committed to not using them. They've threatened it a lot, but at the exact same time, though, that doesn't mean that they're going to use them, and we haven't seen them getting close to using them at all. I think that is fairly unlikely, even if they are losing heavily. And the NATO response, if they for some reason did use a nuclear weapon, would be non-existent, because NATO is not an offensive group, it is a defensive alliance. The United States, though, would probably unilaterally respond on its own, but I'm not really sure how. And I've got to be honest, I just am not entirely sure what would happen in that kind of a situation. It's historically unprecedented, and so we would be entering territory where I can't even go off of a historical precedent. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and real quick, yep, they said unanimous decision for Jake Paul, so Mike Tyson lost the fight. So, also, I'm trying to see here. This is, like, so stupid. Like, he's acting all cocky and stuff like that at the end of it. It's like you fought an old man. Like, the old man is literally still trying to catch his breath over there right now, like, from fighting like that. Man, like, you just can't walk away from that, like, feeling right. Like, surely not. Man, this is, like, cheesy as hell. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat here. This one goes to Scott, who puts in a 5 and says, do the enforcers believe that the Leopard 2 has taken the heavyweight championship from the M1A1 tank in Ukraine? Also, long live Ukraine and the LSA.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, I would have to say that, in my opinion, I think that the M1A1 Abrams is a very competent main battle tank. I don't think the Leopard's taking the title. It's a very good tank, and it is made to NATO standards as well. So it is very up there with the Abrams. But the Abrams is battle-proven in many places, and it didn't take that many losses in really any of them. The Leopard 2, wherever it's been put into service, has taken some losses, like with the Turks, for example, in their invasion of Syria. So for that reason, I think that the Abrams is still better. I'm also biased because I'm an American, and this kind of stuff largely comes down to bias, because technically the Abrams and the Leopard are really capable of the exact same things, because they're both made to a NATO standard, and they both have almost the same level of crew survivability and ergonomics as well. So really, technically, they're identical. But in my opinion, I still like the Abrams better. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, huge shout out to Sean Carr, who puts in a $2 donation, and also Plazath, who put in a 1. And thank you both very much for that support here, and we appreciate it very much. There were no comments attached to those, by the way, but thank you very much for that support. And also, huge shout out to Ambi Pambi, who put in a $5 donation and said, Jake Paul sucks, but he's made a lot of money.
That is true, but with the Paul brothers, though, and with how they make money, my question is really, did they do it in an upstanding way? Like, you know, like when we do this news here, we cover news and people support the channel because in many people's eyes, we provide a service, and hopefully it's one that's commendable. But with the Paul brothers, most of the stuff they do is really questionable. I mean, it's not even questionable. Some of it is downright almost illegal, or it is illegal. And that's the thing with that. It's like, you know, does it really matter if they made a lot of money if they did it questionably the entire way, you know, with like the whole CryptoPunks thing, or, you know, pushing a crappy energy drink, or, you know, filming a body inside of a Japanese forest? You know, it's like are they really like good, upstanding people? And also, I just have to say this. Generally, when I was growing up, I'm a person who kids around and stuff, but I never really got along with frat dudes. Generally because frat dudes are idiots, mostly in my opinion, and so I just never really jived with them because they would do dumb stuff, like really, really stupid stuff, and I just would not understand where they were coming from with that kind of a mindset, or doing these kinds of things. And also, they're very cliquey, and honestly, to me, they're just not what I think or make desirable people or friends. And so the Paul brothers really remind me a lot of frat dudes. I would honestly say that they are frat dudes. They're people who have made being a frat dude their career. And for that reason, just on a personal level, while I usually have something positive to say about everyone, I don't have anything positive to say about either of the Paul brothers, because they seem like frat bros to me. I'm not really a big fan of frat bros. And also, usually they're very vapid and unintelligent, just in my general opinion. And, you know, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he's not unintelligent because he made a lot of money. There's a lot of stupid people out there who have made a load of money. Like, just look around a little bit, you'll find them very easy. Just because someone makes money does not mean that they are smart. Like, for example, let's see here. Let me think of someone smart. Albert Einstein was a very smart person, as far as physics and the science of physics goes. And the guy was not a multi-billionaire by any stretch of the imagination. And then there's plenty of stupid people who have been incredibly smart, like John Paul Getty, who was a pretty stupid guy. Like one of his grandchildren got taken hostage, and he'd rather let his grandchild get tortured and then end up, you know, offing himself, rather than just pay the ransom and get him out of harm's way when he was clearly in actual physical danger. There's a lot of stupid people out there who make money. And I just think that people being rich is not a metric that they're smart or anything like that. You know, that would be my opinion. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. So also, by the way, I just heard Mike Tyson say that he wants another fight. He wants to fight apparently his brother, Logan, and Logan just called him an MFer and some other things like that. So I don't know, like, folks, like, I don't know, like, hopefully, like, to me, honestly, like, at this point, Tyson should just hang it up. He made his money at this point. Don't, like, keep going further with it, because now it's looking a little bit cheesy on everybody's side with that one, in just my honest opinion. But anyways, with that, folks, we are now moving on beyond our super chat questions. We're fresh out for the night, and we're now moving on to our live chat questions. And of course, we have to address the Morse code decoders of the stream. And this one right here is going to go to Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Kevin J, Paul Schultz, David Millsaps, Her Royal Fluffiness, and Arabelle Garbo. And they said the Morse code is Iran probably has not fired back simply because they know their nuclear program is over, and LLT, LSA.
And thank you. Wait, hang on. That's the sound of money, and I almost addressed that as a super chat because I was distracted by a super chat from Robert McCann, who just came in. But still, y'all get that Morse code message dead on the nail, and I got to congratulate y'all for getting that right, because time and time again, y'all have gotten that thing dead on the nail. And we are only a couple of days away. I think we're 4 days away now from day 1,000 of the war. I also got really big news for y'all. I think the orchestration is going to be complete by that time. So on the day 1,000 intro, we're actually going to have the brand new Armed Forces medley in it, which is going to be incredibly cool. But beyond that, I got to thank y'all for getting that Morse code message correct time and time again, because if it was not for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to sit here and say y'all got it dead on the nail again. A big shout out to all of y'all. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best we can, and we are on to the next one.
And also someone said it was just petty cash, and I guess it was petty cash. I think, if I remember correctly, I think that Jake Paul bet his whole winnings on, like, him winning the fight. So I think that was like $40 million bet on himself. So yeah. I don't know how much that is in total or something, but I bet that's quite a bit. Somehow Mike got less. I don't understand how that works. But anyways, moving on to our next one here. We actually have one more super chat to get to. This one goes to Robert McCann, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you, Robert, as well for that support. He said, how much support has been pledged by the USA to Ukraine, and how much has been delivered, and how much is left to deliver?
From what we understand, the United States has provided approximately $120 billion to Ukraine in military support. There's only around $6 billion left that has not been provided completely to Ukraine, and the current administration is speed running it and sending it over immediately. That's what we're understanding at the moment. And of course, the Ukrainians have said they have hardly received everything, which is to the contrary of what we're hearing here in America, but that's what we're largely understanding at the moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can at the moment. I thank you so much once again for the support, Robert McCann, and helping this channel to be possible. Also, Matthew, it is legitimately crazy how much the viewership was affected, because you can actually see right now, I don't know if you have the control room open, we have gained about 500 viewers since the fight ended on the stream. Like, no joke, many people are coming in after the fight's over. So that it's crazy, man, to see that. Like, I'm happy though that we didn't cancel the show tonight, because it sounds like it wasn't worth canceling at all, because it was like a nothing burger. So I'm happy that we didn't. But still, that is interesting for sure. Also, Matthew, I'm not going to say that. I'll say that off stream to you. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that further well. Also, by the way, it's nothing to do with viewers. It's about the fight. But still, I'll talk to Matthew about that after the stream. But still, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to Nat007, who puts in a $10 donation, and huge shout out to you, Nat, for that support. And he put in a super sticker that said, thank you, with a YouTube pair doing the peace sign. And thank you, Nat, as well. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the support, Nat, and helping this channel to keep on running. It is folks like you who help to make this thing possible and help us to keep this thing running, and we are massively appreciative and thankful for folks like you being here and enjoying this channel and supporting it and helping it to keep on running. And so with that, a massive thanks once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and also I see some people saying the fight was lame and cool at the same time. I'm not sure how. I'm like honestly feeling the same way. Like, it was cool to see Mike Tyson fighting again, you know, to see like how he was going to perform. But at the same time, especially after Mike Tyson just said that he wants to fight his brother, knowing that he's really not in shape to fight at this point. Like, honestly, he's really not. You know, it seems kind of like cash grabs a little bit. And it's like, you know, you don't want to do that at the end of your career after you're known as a legend. You don't want to start doing cash grabs right at the very end and then ruin your reputation like that. Because honestly, I'm probably not going to tune into the next fight if he did another one, because it's going to go the same way. Because obviously the other guy is young too, and he's got a lot more stamina. So I don't know. Like, to me, I would say this fight was one I probably wouldn't watch again if I knew what it was already going to be, but you know, it was interesting to see nonetheless. But we're moving on here to our live chat questions once more, as we have some good ones here. And this one is going to go to AF Kaplan, who says, regarding the uprising in Georgia, do you think Russia will have to divert troops from Ukraine in order to respond to this situation?
If they want to deal with the situation, they will have to divert troops. There's no other way to deal with it. Abkhazia does not have the amount of forces needed to be able to put this down and keep control of the situation, and so the Russians would have to get involved from the outside. I don't really know if they have the kind of manpower to do that, but if they wanted to do anything about it, they're going to have to probably pull troops from other vital areas and then move them down into Abkhazia to deal with the situation. And so with that, I hope that does address that question well, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to Eric Horner, who says, do you think that South Korea won't help Ukraine, thinking it'll escalate things with North Korea more than they already are?
They probably will end up helping out Ukraine, because they're totally fine with escalating. Both sides are at the moment, because the South Korean government is not friendly to North Korea, and neither is the North Korean government, quite obviously. And so for the moment, we are understanding that the South Koreans probably will support the Ukrainians, even if it does escalate, because that may actually be the end goal of supporting Ukraine, is to further escalate the situation on the peninsula. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Tao Seti, who says, how can Iran claim that they will have a working nuke soon without even having tested one?
Iran says that because they're still working on developing a nuclear weapon, and when they say they're going to have a usable one in 2 months, that is largely alluding to they're going to conduct a nuclear test in 2 months, because by then a usable test nuke will be ready, and that will be showing at that point that they're nuclear capable, and who knows, they might already have a second one ready to go, made exactly like the one they tested, that could be fired at someone. So then that changes the situation entirely, and that's why we're seeing that the Iranians are saying that, because yes, they haven't tested one yet, but in 2 months, when they say they have a nuclear weapon, they will test it, and they'll prove to the entire world that they are nuclear capable and nuclear armed at that point. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one here goes to Scott Shabalam, who says, didn't the UK intercept a Russian bomber? And I heard about this on Ringway Manchester YouTube channel.
And I thank you for asking a question. I do believe that happens somewhat normally. A lot of countries intercept Russian bombers all the time. Usually the Russians are flying those bombers near to these countries' airspaces to try and test their reaction times. It's something that's been going on for decades at this point, and we also do that back to the Russians. And so I hope that does answer that fairly well, at least from what I understand. It's probably true, but I haven't heard that story specifically today. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and also, let's see here. I saw someone say in the live chat here. Let's see. I missed. Listen, where'd that comment go? I was trying to read it here. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Someone said he did good for 58 years old, meaning Tyson. He did. Like, he did do good for his age. But, you know, if Paul wants to call himself a real fighter, like, and act like he's a real fighter and stuff like that, then the next person he fights needs to be somebody his age that might actually be able to beat him. They need to do that because otherwise, you know, I don't think he's a real fighter, honestly. Like, he's kind of like a gimmick fighter, and he should fight somebody his own age. Like, if he does that, then he might be able to say he's a legitimate fighter. But until then, nah, I'm afraid not, at least for me. But moving on here to our next live chat question. This one goes to Michael Thomas, who says, what is the range of that North Korean cannon?
The range of the North Korean cannon, I believe, is somewhere around like 12 to 13 miles. Let me check the Koksan SPG, and let's see if we can get an actual range here. Effective firing range with standard munitions is 40 kilometers, so it's actually a little bit farther than I was thinking. I think that's equivalent to about 30 30 Imperial miles, so it's about a 30-mile firing range. It is a heavier artillery piece. It's around 170 millimeter, but that honestly sounds a little exaggerated because it's not that heavy. It's just a 170 millimeter main gun. The American 155s can only hit out to about 15 miles or maybe 17 at the farthest. So this thing having a 40-kilometer range, just being slightly larger in caliber, sounds a little bogus to me, to be entirely honest. I would assume it's probably maybe at the longest 20, but not that much farther. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, it's crazy, Mandy. I'm not going to lie. We are gaining viewers insanely at the moment. We went from having like 3,800 viewers to now there's 4,400 here. And like, by the way, just to let y'all know, we only had 4,400 viewers back at 11 o'clock, so that was like an hour ago at this point, and people are flooding in after that fight. I'm so sorry that y'all had to watch that. We were actually wishing y'all a good time at the beginning of the stream because we knew a lot of y'all were off watching that. I hate that it didn't go well. We were hoping for some action or some excitement. I was hoping to honestly be disappointed that I wasn't watching it right now, but it sounds like I was actually very fortunate to be running this show. So welcome in, folks, and I hate that y'all had to waste y'all's time like that. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, you know, a crazy thing as well, like we've gotten a whopping amount of subscribers today. Also, by the way, we had 306,000 subscribers like midday today, I think it was. So huge shout out to everybody for subscribing as well if you're new here tonight, because I think we do have some new viewers on the stream. But we have gotten up to 306,309. So that is crazy to see as well. That's honestly more impressive to me personally than that fight was. But I'm kind of biased, kind of a little bit conflicted here on this one. But anyways, jumping into our next live chat question. This one goes to Melinda Grifford Vaughn. He said, do you believe that Iran will need to show dominance in their new pending government by attacking Israel for a nuclear site destruction, basically an attack to save face with their people?
Probably so. There's a lot to say with saving face, or at least following through with the Iranian government's intention of saving face, because the anti-Israeli sentiments in Iran is ideologically embedded. It's something that isn't up to question. It is a necessity to keep the Islamic Republic's government in operation. So for that reason, I have a feeling if a new Iranian government came into being, there would either be major proxy attacks against Israel, which wouldn't be possible at this point, or they would try and conduct another strike on Israel, also to try and save face and make it look like the incoming Iranian government is strong and still anti-Israeli, which is a key tenet of any government in the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and it looks like I only have one question remaining here in the spreadsheet, so I think this might be the last one of the night.
Oh, dang. Okay. And so with that, we are going to be moving on into the final question of the night. And so, who looks like the last person to throw in the lucky last question of the night?
All right, and on that bombshell, this one is going to go to Point of Guinness, who's a channel legend, by the way, and says, Could Putin send in the North Koreans to be the hammer against the population to stop the uprisings in Georgia, the puppet state of Russia?
I think he could, but I feel like that would take a good bit of diplomatic rigmarole with the North Koreans, because the North Koreans have probably been told or guaranteed that the North Koreans, for the moment, will only be fighting inside of Russia in the Kursk Oblast, not inside of Ukraine or outside of Russia's borders. So if they wanted to do that, it's probably going to take permission from the North Koreans and possibly incentivizing that, for the North Koreans to approve that sort of permission by giving them even more resources. I think it's possible. It's just that it's not going to be an open and shut thing like Putin orders them there and therefore they go. It's more so going to be they have to ask the North Koreans for permission, probably give them more stuff in return, and then they'll be allowed to use the North Koreans to put down the Abkhazians, or the Georgians technically, inside of West Abkhazia. And so with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well, at least from my analysis of the situation. And with that, we have reached an end to tonight's stream. I've got to think about the 1,000 live viewers who have shown up here in the last, 20 minutes for being here tonight.
Hey.
Y'all were here. And also, I hate to tell you this, but the stream is pretty much over now. We're going to be rounding this thing out. But if you do want to watch the news tonight, please make sure to just rewind. You'll be able to see plenty of it. We covered major topics tonight. The title is 100% correct. We covered both of those topics within about the first 40 minutes of the stream. So if you rewind to 10 minutes in and then listen to those first about 30 to 40 minutes straight, you'll hear both of those major news topics of the day and the kind of impact that they have. But nevertheless, I thank all of y'all so much once again for watching. And if y'all have enjoyed, please make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit the like button, and make sure to comment, because we are always happy to see y'all all here, and y'all are the pride and joy of the Lee Spring Army. And so, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
All right, folks, and with that, thank you all once again for another great stream tonight. Tonight's stream was a little bit off, a little bit weird, a little bit strange because of that fight going on in the background, and we were trying to, not get too distracted by it, but at the same time, be able to run the stream properly. So hopefully we did not disappoint tonight, but rest assured that tomorrow night will be 100% dedicated to the news and nothing else. No more distractions, and also probably a full house once again tonight. So with that, folks, thank you all for watching. Slava Ukraine, Herom Slava. Be sure to join the Enforcer midday tomorrow for the short war video if there's enough news to cover, and also the nightly stream at 10 p.m. Eastern as well. So once again, thank you all for watching, and good night.
Yes. The Lee Spring Army sends its regards.